The WWE Universe is in disarray because for the last 6 months, since Raw 1000, the WWE Champion, the voice of the voiceless, CM Punk, turned heel against The Rock. The Rock has been away for the next 6 months, but he has returned in 2013 to defeat Punk, the champion, by this point for 434 days. Can he make it 435? Probably a spoiler there because that 434 number is quite famous in WWE history as The Rock takes on CM Punk in the main event of Royal Rumble 2013. And also, at the same time, John Cena, after the worst year of his career, where he has beaten Brock Lesnar on his first try. He has won Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And now, can he beat no other favourites in the Royal Rumble match to main event WrestleMania, potentially setting up twice in a lifetime, Rock versus Cena 2. And maybe, hey, CM Punk could be involved in that as well, making an excellent three-way. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD. Welcome to our series on The Rock versus John Cena. This is technically episode 5. We've already done WrestleMania 27.
Technically, it is episode 5.
But, you know, for people, if you're only following along on YouTube publicly, it's episode 3,
Fair.
of which we've done WrestleMania 27, 28, and now Rumble 2013. But if you go over to Patreon right now, you can get even more Ramble chat, because over there we have, don't tell me, Survivor Series 2011, where Rock and John Cena tagged together for the first time.
And never again.
Raw 1000,
Yep.
which is mostly Charlie Sheen being fed lines over Skype.
Over Skype. And Tout.
And Tout's
And we
there.
got Touts.
And right now, if you go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk and sign up, you'll get the compendium to this episode, which is Elimination Chamber 2013.
Yes, that's right. Yes, we're doing this one here, and then Elimination Chamber 2013 is over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, which features Punk Rock 2.
Yes, no spoilers. They have a rematch.
Yeah.
That was a style at the time.
Well,
You
of
did
course,
the
yeah.
same match over and over again on pay-per-view and on TV.
So this pay-per-view opens with Alberto Del Rio versus The Big Show for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Elimination Chamber 2013 opens with Alberto Del Rio versus The Big Show for the World Heavyweight Championship.
And 2 weeks before this show, we had Alberto Del Rio versus Big Show for the World Heavyweight Championship, which Del Rio won.
Yeah, in a last man standing match.
Yeah.
And so they built to the next match, which was a last man standing match. And then they do 2 last man standing matches to build to a singles match at Elimination Chamber 2013.
But with all that said, this is far and away the best pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, by the way, kids, it's what premium live events used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The best premium live event pay-per-view of the 5 other ones we've done so far.
I was for a second there. I thought you were about to say of this this new era we've done. Like it was better than all of the Shield. It was better than all the TNA pay-per-views we've done. And I was about to really
Well,
question.
nothing's as good as Hard Justice, 2007.
Yep. Or Genesis 2006. I was going to question you on that one. But yeah, I think this is the best pay-per-view we've done of this Rock and Cena era. And I'll say it is the one that at the time I was the most against.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
So
I was very pro this at the time. We're going to get into where we were at this time in our lives.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's dive into it right now because I can tell you exactly where I was at this time. I am a CM Punk fan. And I have been loving this CM Punk run as WWE champion. And I've been that guy online, angry that he's not really the focus of the show because John Cena is the focus of the show, but the champion, CM Punk, he should be the focus. We, my friends and I, bought the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where Ryback was challenging for the belts. We were like, well, Punk's still going to be the champion, but how are they going to get past this Ryback thing that they've booked themselves into a corner with? Definitely got to pay for this. I'm so into CM Punk here.
But you know, just to tie that up, we'll probably get into it when we go through what's been happening since our last episode covering Raw 1000. They handled the Ryback booking in the wall thing incredibly well.
Smooth. Some might say as smooth as it possibly could have been.
I can't see any other way you could have done that result. No.
And you'd have thought as well. I mean, they saw what happened there, and they thought, we'll never make that mistake again in 7 years' time when we have The Fiend. But yeah, I'm so into CM Punk. But all the while I'm watching this historic WWE Championship run, my friends and I keep saying to each other, yeah, but it's going to end in January. Because it's going to be Rock Cena 2 at WrestleMania. So like from Raw 1000 onwards, we were basically just counting down the days until CM Punk lost the title. So it can just, and for Rock to win the title and for Cena to win the Rumble, so we can have Rock Cena 2 at WrestleMania. And as CM Punk guys, that made me not like The Rock because I wanted it to be Punk. I wanted Punk to be the champion. I was really enjoying CM Punk as champion. And Rock's whole promo shtick, it worked when it was against John Cena because he was saying all of the things that I was agreeing with, which is that Cena's stupid and all the kids that like him are idiots. But now he's saying it about a guy that I like, where he's like, CM Punk doesn't like the fans. I like the fans and I'm the people's champion. I'm like, no, Rock, I'm not buying the BS this time. I'm on Punk's side on this one. Boo you, Dwayne. You've come in here, part-timer, taking the WWE Championship. No, this is CM Punk's title. He should be the main event of WrestleMania. So that is why I was not into watching this show at the time.
I was in the. You'll find fewer bigger CM Punk fans than I. I remember approaching this. I was very, this is the period of Team Hell No. Rhodes Scholars we'll get into.
Shield.
Alberto Del Rio, we don't like now, but we're like, okay, Del Rio, maybe he'll work as a babyface. And the Shield, yeah, all these things are starting to click. Not just in the undercard or the midcard, but in the main event scene. CM Punk has been the hit. I know that he wasn't always the main event, but I had this thing in my head. He has been champion for this song. He's heel Punk. He's with Paul Heyman. This is excellent. The story is obviously he's going to lose to The Rock. I didn't mind that because he'd had the belt for 434 days. By far, that feels normal now in the Levesque era. That was unprecedented in 2013.
It's the 6th longest title run, and it was like the longest title run of the modern era.
Yeah. I hadn't, when was the previous longest title?
It's been like Hogan.
Yeah.
It's been like the Hogan era. Like when he won it in like 84. Because every other title change after that is like you lose it after 3 months.
Yeah, particularly the hot potato attitude era. So I'm like, yeah, he's had a great run. He's heel, and he's in a feud with The Rock. That can only elevate him. Also, I love The Rock. It's not like I don't like John Cena or The Rock. I love The Rock. And the story they're telling is the people's champion versus the guy who's turned on the people. He's no longer the voice of the voiceless. And I thought it was a really good story. We'll get into the promo work. Some people call it one of Punk's best promos. Your arms aren't long enough to box with God on The Rock. So I was okay with The Rock beating Punk. Of course, like the fan in me wanted Punk to never lose the title.
Yeah.
But I got this. And the problem was I kept on convincing myself that this was a sign that the company was about to change.
And I think this is where you and I then differ, because for me as a fan at this point, I'm like, we're just going back to the status quo. Because from Raw 1000, not only have I been counting down the days for The Rock to win the title, I'm also counting down the days for Cena to be champion again. And it's just to go right back to square one of a period of WWE that I just was not into. So I was effectively counting down my days of enjoyment of this product.
Well, yeah, and looking back with hindsight, you were correct. I'm just trying to give you the emotional reality of the time. I'm an optimist. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And at that time, no longer with WWE, but at that time, I was like, this is the one. There's finally change happening.
I should also point out as well, because there will be, some people might be like, oh, well, you're just a smark, this, that, and the other. You can't just sit back and enjoy the wrestling. Why don't you just sit back and enjoy the wrestling, people might say. I actually wrote an article for a website, a wrestling news website, about this period of time, and it was after The Rock won the title. So it must have been just after this show. So after this show, maybe I've wrote just before or after WrestleMania. It might have been after WrestleMania, actually. No, it was after The Rock won the title. And I wrote why this is a good thing. Because as a fan, I didn't want Punk to lose the belt, and I'm not into the idea of Rock Cena 2 and Cena being the champion again. But I completely understand it from a business aspect, because you know what was massively successful? The previous year's WrestleMania. Do you know why it was successful?
Triple H and The Undertaker.
It wasn't CM Punk and Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship. It was The Rock versus John Cena. So yeah, of course you're going to do that again, but this time do it for the title. That makes complete sense to me. So yeah, while I was a pessimist, you might say, in that, my favorite's not the champion anymore, I'm also a realist in Punk is not a top guy. Mostly because the company won't push him as a top guy. He's not a top guy. He's not a top merch seller. He's the number one heel, but he's not The Rock or John Cena. The main event of WrestleMania 29 should be Cena Rock 2 for the WWE Championship. So I'm a complete realist about it.
You see, yeah. A lot of my copium at the time was this is Punk's elevation into the stratosphere with not never reaching Rock and Cena. They've got years and years and years. But he's the new guy that WWE are building to replace Cena. In a year's time, he's gone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which we wouldn't have known at the time.
No. But like, I'm just saying, like, that's how far WWE fell off post WrestleMania 29. We're like, as a fan, I'm here like, Punk's gonna be. We've got the Shield. Punk's gonna be that he's gonna be replacing Cena shortly because. And I was holding on to this idea through Elimination Chamber, through March. Punk could get into this match. He's got the rematch with Rocket Chamber. Never thought he was going to win that. But then he's got the match with Cena on Raw, which we'll cover in a future episode because it's one of the... I think Punk said it's his favorite match of his previous WWE run.
I think it's one of John Cena's best matches ever.
And it's the one with the pile driver, famously. He was in the mix, and it felt like Punk could get added to the three-way. Just like we're reviewing this in 2025, Punk might get added to the Cena versus Cody match. It's not going to happen, but I believe.
But I believe that it could.
And what it was really was The Rock isn't around all the time, so Cena needed someone to beat to build the singles match.
Yeah.
And then, this is an optimistic pay-per-view. But in a year's time, the Shield are starting to break up. The Wyatt family are getting less hot. Bryan Danielson, not long left for him with the injury. And CM Punk leaves the company in next year's Royal Rumble. Yeah. The company falls apart creatively.
So Tempest and I were talking about this in the office, that there's a good chunk of WWE in the late 2000s and mid 2010s where it felt like change was happening. And like some of these new guys were coming up and some of these new guys were set to get a push, then something would happen and they would just break glass and put the belt back on Cena or Randy Orton. And it just felt like that was always their answer to everything. Edge gets injured, break glass, put the belt back on Randy Orton. It's like, The Rock's coming in, break glass, put the belt on actually, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's injured, break glass, put the belt back on Cena. And they always just went back to these two guys. And I was never into those two guys, which is why like my fandom for WWE was always that undercard, that mid-card, those guys like Cody Rhodes that I really wanted to see get more, but just never did. One of my real issues I have with WrestleMania 26, and one of that, Tempest and I were talking about this recently, is the Legacy 3-Way should have been a match to put over two new guys in Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes. And Randy Orton wins. The guy who was already made.
Yeah, but one of those went on to become the biggest star in WWE today, so something must have worked.
When he left. Guys like Cody.
In spite of that decision,
it's Cody and Drew become two of WWE top guys because they go. We've said this multiple times, you and I. If Dolph had left around that time, Dolph would have come back and he would have been one of their top stars.
If Dolph was in the mix of the G1 in like 2017, 2018.
If he was, I guarantee you he'd have been part of Bullet Club.
Yeah. And he would have been brilliant in that.
Yeah.
What, Bullet Club War Dogs, Bullet Club House of Torture? Which one are you talking?
The good one.
Oh, you mean OG Bullet Club?
Yeah. But like, he almost has left at the wrong time. Now he just can't quite. Now everyone sort of looks at him as like this should have happened 10 years ago for Dolph. But I was watching this Rumble, and I did enjoy this show because it's a really fun show. The Rock Cena main event is, I mean, it's the best Rock match we've done of this run so far. He's so good in it, and Punk is so great in it. Team Hell No, I enjoyed them with the Rhodes Scholars. And the Rumble itself is quite a fun Rumble. But if you're watching it with hindsight, certainly, a decade's worth of hindsight that we've got watching it here, decade plus, man, is it just like nobody, John Cena, nobody, Randy Orton, nobody.
Yeah. Can I tell you exactly where I was?
Please.
Live as this was going on. I was at my first ever live WWE watch-along party.
No way, were you really?
Hooked on Wrestling. Wow. It must have been one of their first events, maybe like within a year. It was in Shepherd's Bush. Mm-hmm. It was in a walkabout pub where they used to do them. And yeah, I had a little area. It was me and Kedem and Dan. I was living at home at this time. I think I'd move into the lad pad with Kedem and Dan in later this year. It would be in September 2013, so 9 months away. So I would go watch this, and then we'd sleepily go back to Dan's and crash. Not take anything, don't worry. But it was his weird flat with these two housemates who were painfully cool.
Oh, really?
Painfully cool. They once didn't invite me and my friend Graham to a party because we weren't cool enough.
What do you mean?
Well, they were very arty-farty types.
Oh, no. Oh, that kind of
When
cool.
you go into a party and the party isn't Robbie Williams singing Angels, it's... That's like what the DJ's mixing.
So that's
the equivalent of musical vomit called
that
dubstep.
Doesn't sound to me like there's arty people.
Oh, yes.
Like if you said that I went to an arty person's house, I would expect them to listen to Coldplay or something equally as boring.
What?
Well, because
okay. Yeah. All right. So you're thinking like stuffy arty.
Yeah,
These are
the sort of people,
trendy arty. This is Shoreditch in 2010.
The sort of people who would say, you should watch French cinema.
No. I'm cool, campy. Have you heard this? There's a big debate over what cool is between Miranda Hyde and Richard Osman on The Rest is Entertainment.
No, I'm not.
Miranda Hyde is like, cool is a very specific thing. It's James Dean. It's it's like it's
rebel without a cause.
They're rebels. They don't care about stuff. Yeah. They're cool. Whereas Richard Osman is he claims that it's updated, where Stephen Hendry, the snooker player, is cool. Because, you wouldn't expect him to be such a cool guy, but you chat to him, he's self-effacing. Pierce Brosnan's a good example. Yeah. Richard Osman says Pierce Brosnan is cool. He's an ex-James Bond. And Miranda says, no, he's suave. And I'm like, I can see both sides.
I can see both arguments, yeah. But I agree with Osman that I think the definition of cool has changed. I don't think you can say that cool just defines the 1950s and 60s, and then it's no more.
Well, no one's cool anymore.
Who is cool? What's a good question? Who is cool?
Yeah. Who is cool by the definition of the 50s? I would say Punk's cool here. But then he's also a bit moany.
I was going to say, he's too whingy.
Yeah.
And he's far too whingy to be
he's a bit
cool.
whingy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Love him, though.
I mean, I love him too. I love
Stephen Hendry, for the record.
I don't know if I could say that any wrestlers are cool. No,
Randy.
No, Randy's too cool to be cool. Like he doesn't care enough.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good point. He doesn't care.
Yeah, because he's got that sort of I'll do whatever the F I want attitude.
Yeah, maybe he is cool. Maybe you're right.
We should rank. We should do a ranking tier list video.
Cool. What, just that as two? Cool and not cool?
Yeah. Otis. Drag down the screen. But we love Otis. It's not not everyone can be cool.
No, I'm not cool.
Well, this is it. And I don't think the housemates were cool either.
No.
And I took it really personally. And as you can see, 12 years later, I'm still a bit annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Because I'm presumably going to one of the guys' weddings soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I forget that these are public.
Yeah, this isn't like the old days when we could. It was a much smaller audience behind the paywall that were seeing these.
Because I said it in the last Patreon one we did. I was like, oh, some of my mates from 4Music back in the day have started listening to this, and of course I'm talking about them because that's where we were at the time. I'm like, never really. It's got to be.
My mate Kel messaged me being like, "Oh, I just watched your WrestleMania 2." I was like, "Oh yeah, you can watch those things." And I said, you made that point in the first episode when I was talking about one of my old housemates. You're like, "You do know this is a public thing."
Yeah. But I was in the Shepherd's Bush Walkabout in West London.
Oh, what a venue, Walkabout, eh? Australian.
A guy fell asleep next to me at about 12:30. So I think before the show started, there was a quiz. That was the first time I realized, oh, I love wrestling and I know a lot about wrestling relative to my school friends. I'm not Tempest. I don't know where WrestleMania 14 took place.
No.
Do you? Can you say?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That might be...
Maybe a better thing is I cannot recall that information on demand.
Yeah.
Because I do know, I've heard it.
Yeah, oh yeah, they've said to me when I've watched the show, we are in this place. But I then don't retain that information to then hold it for a future conversation. Tempest finds this so weird that I don't know where WrestleManias were. He's just like, it was there, and I was like, it could be, it may as well have been anywhere. I'm not from America. It could be anywhere in America because it means nothing to me personally.
To be honest, if I wouldn't know where this watch-along party was, and I was there. The only reason I remember it was in Shepherd's Bush is because there was a fancy dress element, and the winners were two people who came as the Shepherd's Bushwhackers.
Very good. It's very good.
Very good. And I just remember, that was like, and the pop when Chris Jericho comes out after, like, he comes out as number 2, Dolph Ziggler's number 1. We're all so into Dolph Ziggler at the time. I had never experienced watching WWE like that with the exact same sort of person. We're all drunk.
Yeah.
And that, like, the Rumble's the best thing to do in that environment.
So much fun.
And Jericho comes out. He's been gone for about 6 months from SummerSlam. So it's not an Edge return after 10 years out with neck injury.
No, he's been gone for 5 months.
He's been gone for 5 months. He's just done a Fozzy tour. That's all it was. Yeah. But he comes back and we just exploded. And that was sort of like the first high. And that's why we tried to do and did until WWE stopped us, doing live reactions ourselves in pubs.
It's why I can't, in all good faith, say, because some people have told me that the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble isn't all that good. Like it's a completely fine Rumble. I can't agree. Because I was stood amongst a bunch of people watching it and we were going ballistic for every single person coming out. It's one of my favorite Rumbles ever. Yeah. I love that. And I the same thing with Clash of the Castle.
Clash of the Castle.
It's like one of my favorite WWE shows of all time. I mean, that is a really, really good show anyway. But man, we just had the best time watching that show, because watching wrestling with wrestling fans is always the best time to do this. It's why in this period of time, I was really enjoying watching WWE pay-per-views. We chronicling my fandom for the past couple of years. I watched 27 on my own. We covered that in the first episode. Now at this point, I've got like a group of friends I'm watching this with. It's not just me and John. Now we're being joined by, it's me, John, and Ross is coming in. He's bringing his friends in. Some of the guys from work are into CM Punk, so they're getting into watching these shows. So now there's like a big group of us. We're all going to be around John's flats for next month's episode when we do Mania 29. And I remember watching that show so vividly because I was amongst a lot of wrestling fans.
Yeah, you had your sort of group that I guess you had one version of it where you're going around people's houses and watching it. This is at the period of time where it's me and Dan. We go and, neither of us have got girlfriends at this point. I'm living at home with my parents. Dan's living at home with these rubbish flatmates. I don't think they're ever going to watch this.
But even if they do, you can make a joke about it. They're not the same people they were 12 years ago, are they?
No one's the same, but not been a lot of character development. It's not a Triple H booking where it's like you can say, "Oh, you're a completely different character from the last year." I should stop. I should stop. But like me and Dan were going to all the Progress shows, and they're like once every 2 months, I think, by this point. But then anything we can get our hands on, it's Rev Pro. It's just a random indie promotions launched in this Brit Rest boom.
You're into ROH?
We'll go to those. I was watching ROH on my laptop, downloading torrents, I think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
I'm going out.
Yeah.
And it's, it's separate to WWE. We all love, not love, but we all are lifelong fans of WWE. A lot of the people there watch Ring of Honor, and you talk to people, and you'll see the same people at the shows. Then you'll go to the Hooked On party. 60% of that audience are the same people. So you know faces. Hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, what a match that was. You're going to Progress next month. It was a special time. I'm sure that sort of scene exists now as well, because we've got Riot Cabaret and Hustle and Rev Pro. But I'm not going to all those shows with like my best mate. And that's our only thing that we have to look. Not the only thing. That's a bit tragic. But, we work a desk job 5 days a week. We lived for the Saturday shows, or in this case, the Sunday night shows. This was our thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I was so into not just WWE, I was so into wrestling at this time.
Well, I'm not a sports guy. Like, I don't watch any other sports. I don't watch football or snooker or cricket or anything like that.
Snooker's now become the second thing you've got a list.
I couldn't think of any other sports. And you'd said Stephen Hendry. So I was like, it's football, and then it's snooker, and then cricket's the only other sport I could think of. Rugby, that's a sport. I don't watch that one either. But I love wrestling. And me and my friends are just consuming as much as we possibly can and always talking about it. And also, I am an observer guy.
I'm not an observer guy at this point.
Every single day. Because it's not just Wrestling Observer Radio with Brian and Dave. I'm also listening to the Brian and Vinny show, which they're doing a couple of days a week. Alvarez has a show every single day, Wrestling Observer Live, and I listen to I was timing like my lunch breaks around when Observer Live would drop or when Observer Radio would drop. So I would have those and I would download them so I could listen to them. So I am in the world of wrestling, but I'm also in like the business end of wrestling, which is a bit I find like endlessly fascinating. So I'm super excited for a lot of things at the moment. But like from a business act, but as a fan, there are some things I'm like, oh, but I'd like this or I'd like this. I think I'm more of a realist on sort of both of those camps. But yeah, well into wrestling at the moment, and I'm pretty sure we watched this live. I'm pretty sure we would have done, because
it's the Rumble.
We always watch the Rumbles. I don't think we watched Chamber, but I'm pretty sure John and I watched the Rumble, and then we watched WrestleMania 29. So, do you want to get some Observer notes?
Oh, please do. Speaking of the business backstage stuff.
What was scheduled as Ric Flair's first match in 16 months at the All Japan Pro Wrestling event in Tokyo ended up not taking place, as Ric Flair, 1 month before his 64th birthday, suffered a blood clot in his left leg. The belief was the blood clot was related to the long trip to Japan. Flair was in tremendous pain and went to the emergency room, and they wanted to check him into the hospital. He refused admittance and instead went to the show. Flair came out before the show and apologized for not being able to wrestle, and said that his son Reed would take his place, teaming with Keiji Muto against Tatsumi Fujinami and Seiya Sanada, ending when Sanada pinned Flair in 15 minutes.
Wow. Well, blood clot's no joke. A friend of mine died at uni suddenly from a blood clot. It's really, really quite tragic. But yeah, so he didn't get it checked out. He just
went to the show, apparently.
Oof, God.
That could just be, a Flair story.
Well, I kind of believe it though, because that generation, the most important thing is you do the show. You go to the show.
Yeah. The incident was viewed in Japan as a black eye for All Japan Pro Wrestling. Flair was the big attraction on the show, which sold out the 4,800 seat gym several days in advance. The fans came from all over Japan to see Flair, with many being that it would be his last ever match in Japan. It was a major Legends match since Flair and Muto were supposed to wrestle for the NWA title on one of the first Tokyo Dome shows when it fell through, and Flair and Fujinami wrestled in 1991 at the Tokyo Dome, sold the building out, and set what was, at the time, the all-time Japanese attendance record. The feeling was negative because the company did not offer refunds. It also reminded people too much of when they brought back Abdullah the Butcher for a retirement tour. Butcher was scheduled to wrestle, but he was in such bad shape physically he simply couldn't do it. And then after the first few nights of the tour, they sent Abdullah home early, even though he'd been advertised for the entire tour. And like in the US, false advertising and not delivering on advertised matches is still a big deal in Japan.
And still a big deal today. New Japan will not announce cards until the previous show has been completed.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to say so-and-so's, the ex-champion is going to be there, in case ex-champion has a match on the previous show and loses the belt.
Did you see the really weird story the other day? Because remember, like, there was that video of Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and it was seemingly setting up that they were going to team together to take on the Young Bucks for the IWGP Tag Team titles at Wrestle Dynasty, and then that match never happened. And apparently that match was never planned and it was never advertised, but the editors of the video thought it was a good idea, so they made it look like it possibly could be the match. Raw, the day after the Royal Rumble, did a 3.67 ratings and 5.01 million viewers. The best number it's done since Raw 1000.
In comparison, a good rating for Raw, which is doing really good ratings right now in 2025, is a 0.7.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, no, we don't even know that because they're on Netflix now. So let's say SmackDown, I think, is 0.52 generally.
Yeah.
Which is a good rating for USA Network. So that's like, it's down by, it's a seventh of what it was, roughly.
You want to see, Dave had this really interesting point, Meltzer, that is, not Bradshaw. The Monday slot where Raw used to be on USA Network this week did 300,000 viewers.
Oof.
So you want to talk about how much Raw and WWE was bumping up those ratings. What people say about Dynamite is that if they didn't have that Dynamite show where that is, the ratings would be significantly lower than what they currently get, without wrestling. They announced 2 matches for the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view, the company's 11th anniversary show, with the long built-up Kevin Steen versus Jay Lethal title match. Memories of this?
I think Jay Lethal is heel right now. He's with Truth Martini. Is this correct?
Might be, yeah.
There was a great act, them two, and I can't remember the lady who was with them. I can't remember her name. But yeah, Kevin Steen going for the title. He was sort of the tweener baby face role now, which wasn't as good as heel, but still loved him.
And Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards versus the Forever Hooligans, the former IWGP Tag Team Champions of Rocky Romero and Alex Kozlov.
Kozlov?
Yeah, Alex Kozlov.
Oh, I thought... no, I'm thinking of Roppongi 3K with Trent.
Yeah.
Well, American Wolves, Richards and Eddie Edwards are personally one of my all-time favorite tag teams.
Kurt Angle was on Wrestling Observer Radio.
Well, just before you do that, because we had a Patreon comment on last month's episode, the previous one, that was like, what's an pay-per-view? I was like, oh, yeah, like that was kind of specific to indie federations from 2011 through to 2016. And then like it was sort of absorbed by streaming services.
And the I doesn't stand for indie.
No. It's just... It's a pay-per-view that rather than order through a cable provider, you could only get on the internet because distribution was easier that way. You didn't have to pay the big cable carrier fees.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they always went wrong.
Yes, because streaming on the internet in 2013 was not as easy as streaming on the internet is now in 2025. That's why you think, Netflix was a DVD provider. It was you'd send out DVDs as opposed to we'll just put DVDs up onto a streaming service that you can get all of. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Because there are some fans who won't have known the pay-per-view, not even the pay-per-view model, the pay-per-view model of. I remember when AEW first started, and there were some fans who were like, "Whoa, I've got to pay $50 every few months to buy a show." And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, there was a period of time where we were doing that 14 times a year with WWE.
Well, boxing still does it, and I buy boxing fights every now and then. So I think it's like...
It's a uniquely wrestling thing, of course, So Kurt Angle was on Wrestling Observer Radio and said that as far as going forward, he's going to wrestle for 2 more years full-time, do a retirement tour, and then retire.
Kind of what happened. So he...
Remember, this is 2013.
Yeah, so two more years. So he'd finish 2015. Yeah. Right? He was in the What Culture World Tournament, wasn't he? Or he wrestled for
He did do some stuff with WCPW.
So he was, that's probably to like 2016. He's back in WWE, and he has a very limited retirement run.
Yeah, he wrestles. I think he starts wrestling again in 2017, because I was on my stag do.
Look, by Kurt Angle promise standards, only going 3 years over your 2-year limit, I think is pretty good for him.
Well, he goes 4 years over because he retires in 2019.
Yeah, but he had a year off, kind of. He was just the general manager.
He said that when he retires, that will be it, and he won't go back for another match. Granted, everyone says that. Angle just turned 44 last month, and he's taken a terrible beating over the course of his career. Of late, you can see they have 2 speeds for him, which is house shows, and the gimmick short TV matches where he does almost nothing, and then the pay-per-views and the key TV matches where he tries to be at the level of the old Kurt Angle. He said that King Mo's quest to doing pro wrestling and MMA at the same time, in his mind, is impossible, which is interesting. He would say that publicly. He said that you have to concentrate on one because both are 100% full-time lifestyles. He believes right now Mo should concentrate on MMA and concentrate on pro wrestling later, and believes he has the tools to be a great pro wrestler. I was really reminded when I was looking at this Observer how massive UFC is at this time. And then watching this show and seeing like UFC influences, because like the wrestlers are watching UFC, and how much they're trying to like take some of those elements and move it into their characters. There's a thing that Michael Cole says a lot around this period of time, and he says it in this match as well. Shoots the half.
Shoots the half?
In terms of like turning someone over. Shoots the half.
Oh, I didn't really pick up on
when
that.
When John Cena locks in the STF on Ryback, and then he rolls him over, Michael Cole's like, shoots the half. But yeah, like there's so much. And I remember at the time, where you'd get the Observer on a Friday, scroll, or get to Observer Radio. And back in those days, kids, they did not give you timestamps of how long they were going to talk about a UFC thing for. So you either had to risk it and just try and skip forward. And the Observer website, you think it's bad now. It was the same in 2013. Or just sit through it and hope that it's not too long. Hulk Hogan, once again, is trying to get his lawsuit against Gawker.com moved back out of federal court and back to the state court to get away from Judge James Whitmore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hugely culturally significant story. The man who bankrolled Hulk Hogan's lawsuit here was Peter Thiel, who did it because he had a vendetta against Gawker. They outed him as homosexual when he didn't want to be, which, is a pretty crappy thing to do. But now Peter Thiel is sort of one of the Illuminati-style puppet masters in the current US government regime.
It's also, we're heading towards that infamous Hulk Hogan testimony where Hulk Hogan is a character and Terry Bollea is the person. Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch penis. Terry Bollea does not.
But how long?
You would not believe the glee that came to on my face when I was on the train going home the other night. And I was getting all my notes here when I read this sentence. Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan are married in storyline.
Yeah, it's one of the best. It's one of the best angles TNA ever did.
Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan are married in storyline based on the ceremony, even though they were never pronounced man and wife before the run-ins. In pro wrestling rules, not being pronounced should have meant no marriage, and the weird statue of pro wrestling wedding angles would illogically mean that they couldn't get married for a while. There was a lot of internal miscommunication regarding this. There were people in the company who directly told us they weren't married, others who noted they were, and even Hulk Hogan on Twitter after the angle said that with all the bad that happened, the one good thing was they weren't married. You'd think he would know his own angle. Taz was put in the position with the heel turn because they felt someone had to break up the wedding and they wanted it to be a surprise. Is it getting hot in here?
Oh, what? So that wasn't a long-term plan.
No. The idea was that they felt Aces and Eights needed a stronger mouthpiece, and Taz is better in that position than Devon. Although the idea is that Taz will mostly be doing commentary, backing them up, and not doing in-ring promos for the very reason there's no physical comeback allowed. Dave then talks about the fact that he can't do bumps and he can't do matches, so he's just going to have to be put into this position where he's the mouthpiece, but just on commentary. Because if he's in the ring and all of a sudden a brawl breaks out, he's got to be out of that ring sharpish.
Just in case people aren't aware of this angle, Aces and Eights were a terrible faction in TNA.
It has been a long requested run for us to do as a podcast series.
I would love to do it. They lost all the time. But they were presented as and it was sort of Eric Bischoff's motorcycle fetish thing. Yeah, that's what they were based around. But yeah, it includes this bit where Taz reveals himself in just the best pro wrestling cliche possible. Actually, I've been wearing an Aces and Eights t-shirt all along.
So to set this up, he was part of the groomsmen for Bully Ray. And that's when he does the reveal. So he's wearing his suit over the top of his, his wedding suit and stuff. And then he takes it off with is it getting hot in here? And reveals that he's wearing Aces and Eights colors. And then a big brawl breaks out and Aces and Eights run in. And at this point in time, Bully Ray is on the Team TNA side of things. But is he really? Because we all saw that look he gave down the lens when he hugged Brooke Hogan.
It's better than John Cena's heel turn look.
The first thing I thought of when John Cena looked, I was like, he's doing the Bully Ray thing from TNA.
He's doing a not as good version of Bully Ray from 2013. Honestly, that's another point of this time. Bully Ray is like one of the hottest things in wrestling. Yeah. There's not an AEW to compete here. New Japan doesn't really break the mainstream until 2015-16.
When they get English commentary.
Bully Ray in TNA, it's like, God, I know TNA are a bit crap, but Bully Ray's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, he's so great. Although the contract has not been signed as of last weekend, Lesnar has verbally agreed to the terms for a new 2-year contract extension that would take him through to the 2015 WrestleMania show. As we noted, once the Survivor Series buy rate came in, it was a lock that he was going to get a similar offer. But I was surprised they went with 2 years instead of 1 year, because there is no lock they can keep him special for that long, given the storylines of him quitting to explain him being gone get old after the second time. So yeah,
the Survivor Series buy rate. You mean the SummerSlam buy rate?
I think
he had Triple H at SummerSlam, and then he has Triple H again at our next, Mania 29.
Let's have a look. Survivor Series 2012.
Was he on that show?
Survivor Series 2012. So I'm about to find out because I can't remember. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he must have meant SummerSlam.
We do that all the time, to be fair, in our notes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just SS.
That's why I do Sir Sear.
Sir Sear or Some Slur.
Or Some Slur.
Some Slur.
Yeah, you're right. I actually forgotten he was on that show. Well, I knew he was on SummerSlam, but I didn't know he was on Survivor Series.
So he wasn't on Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, that's right.
The genius thing about Brock's contracts at this time, this would be the case up until relatively recently, they would always come up for renewal just after WrestleMania. And he was always going to do big business at WrestleMania. A huge amount of negotiating leverage for him to just say, well, if you want me back, look at what I just did.
We were talking about this on Worst Match Ever taping that we did recently. So that 2015 WrestleMania is 31, the one where it's Rock and Roman. The idea was that Roman was going to win the title. And it's the one where they invited the Samoan dynasty there to the show, like Afro Sika, who were then reportedly so mad at WWE after that show because Roman doesn't win the title. Seth wins the title instead. But prior to that show, they had announced that Brock had re-signed. And then he signs another contract extension for another couple of years, which then ends at 34. The difference there being is they didn't announce ahead of time that he'd re-signed. So when he beats Roman in that main event, it was much more of a surprise because everyone assumed Roman's going to win the title here. Fascinating stuff for Brock, really. But I remember at this point in time, because he's not around all the time, you have to do these storylines of he's suspended, he's quitting, and it does get old after a while. And that's Dave's point there. And it's really funny to look at this first year of Brock has not been the year everyone expected it to be, because he lost the first match.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a feud with Triple H, where Triple H is the babyface, and it's not quite as hot as it possibly could have been. But Lesnar's hot, which kind of saves the SummerSlam buy rates.
Yeah, and he beats Triple H at SummerSlam, but then Triple H beats him at WrestleMania. So, okay, your first year, Brock, you lost 2 big matches and won one.
Yeah.
But you didn't win the feud.
Yeah.
Kind of. Well, he does, actually, because they have the rematch.
So Lesnar is on Raw the following night on the Royal Rumble. In an interesting note, before the Lesnar surprise appearance on Raw, WWE sent out a photo on Twitter of Lesnar backstage. The idea, and they've done this before, is to use Twitter as a means to get people to tune into the show immediately or contact people that something big is going to happen. It's the same reason they played Ric Flair's music before the commercial break, with people thinking it was a screw-up that ruined the surprise of the Flair return, when actually it's a calculated attempt to build a quarter.
Interesting.
Even though it was announced months ago, Undertaker is returning for Mania, the word is this week it may not happen. According to those in the loop, he's uncertain about the show, which is a big deal because he was scheduled to be Punk's opponent in what would have been the number 2 match on the show. Not sure of a backup plan, giving it's right now not definite either way. The holdup is physical. He's been hurting badly for years, but doesn't complain and tries to keep his injuries as quiet as possible. I think part of the issue is that the last few years, he's been set a standard of going out there and having a match of the year contender every time. You could always come back for the payday and fake his way through it, but he wants to be able to give a WrestleMania performance, and if he is done, last year is the kind of performance he'd want to go out with. I can always assume on the side that when push comes to shove, he will do it until he officially pulls out.
Which is what happens.
Yeah, he does do the Punk match.
But we got that great Undertaker retirement celebration in the pandemic, didn't we?
Yeah. And we got the
fitting tribute to the guy.
And we got the other one at Mania 33 when he does the sad striptease.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. This is actually not really anything to do with WWE, but it's more to do with your and I's wheelhouse.
Oh, okay. Movies.
YouTube has reached out to some of its channel producers about trying to heavily monetize their channels. This was likely always the plan. Offer the channels free, then start charging for them. It's not known that WWE will be part of this, but since WWE has been a top 5 channel most weeks with YouTube, it's a lock that they've been talked with about it. The YouTube strategy is to have several popular channels that people would pay $1 to $5 per month, as well as getting into the pay-per-view business. The plan is to introduce these channels as early as the second quarter of the year. They are looking at 25 or so pay channels. The channels will include advertising to boost revenue besides the subscription fee. It is expected content providers will be offered a deal that in addition to the advertising they will be allowed to sell, they can also get 45% of the subscription revenue, while YouTube would keep the other 55%.
Bloody hell. On subscription revenue.
It will be
so bad. Like, yeah, sure, you sell the adverts. That's, so, you know, behind the curtain, the advertising split is 45 to YouTube, 55 to us. You know, you sort of like, that's not standard. Most advertising works on a sort of 30-70 split as a sort of maximum. But they are doing all of it. They've got the technology. I see the reason for it. But when you get into like subscription revenue or like super chats, there's a reason we don't run super chats through YouTube. We use Streamlabs. It's because, yeah, YouTube still thinks they're entitled to almost half of that stuff.
Yeah. They take 50% of it, right? 50% of super chats?
I think it's hard. It might actually be 70-30 on those. But yeah, like channel memberships as well. They take a large proportion of that. It's a bad deal. Yeah.
It'll be interesting if this becomes the long talked about WWE Network, since we heard almost nothing about it in recent weeks. It's a far lower risk and also far lower potential reward if that's the direction they end up going. Additionally, it won't have any negative effect on the pay-per-view business, as certain discussed models would have been had. The WWE video game license is all but officially moved to Take-Two 2K Sports. The deal is reportedly so close that at press time, it's not done, and a signed deal even before both WWE and 2K Sports have agreed to it. But there are paperwork issues stemming from the bankruptcy. The expected announcement to be made fairly soon. This is the era of the 2K games. And another note here, G.I. Joe Retaliation will be released in IMAX starting the 29th of March. Now, the reason I brought this up is that you said on a extra episode recently, on one of the Patreon ones, you were trying to explain where The Rock is at the star at the moment. And you talked about how with G.I. Joe, they had Channing Tatum as the star, but he wasn't seen as big enough, so they brought in The Rock. You said that he became too big of a star, so
Magic Mike took off.
So they had to bring in The Rock, who was seen as a lesser star than Channing Tatum was. And someone left a YouTube comment about a Patreon comment. You're wrong about Channing Tatum being too big of a star to do the G.I. Joe sequel. It's a little strange, actually. After the first movie, Tatum seemed to have failed to become a big star at all. The first film did mixed business. For that reason, The Rock was brought in as the biggest star when the film was shot, and the film would dispose of Tatum rather quickly. In 2011-2012, Tatum became the big star. In 2011-2012, Tatum became the big star that he failed to do before. This caused a serious problem, as audiences were not happy to see Tatum thrown under the bus for the final boss. The film was pulled from a reschedule and re-edited to change what happens with Tatum. They did reshoots, but it sounded like Tatum didn't want to be involved. Tatum was not happy with the G.I. Joe people in general. So Tatum was pulled for not being a bigger star, but he was the biggest star. Because he was under contract, he would have been forced to star in the movie. The studio had any clue he would take off, they would have focused the movie around him. It was a huge mistake. That is partially, so of what I've read, you're both sort of right.
I like that version where I'm also right.
Yeah, so they did bring in The Rock to replace, because Tatum gets killed like right at the start of the movie. And the director has said that they did that because they wanted it to be a big surprise. I mean, they actually put it in the trailer that Tatum gets killed off and Rock comes in as Roadblock to be the new leader of G.I. Joe. But Tatum effectively was Harrison Ford in Star Wars. I don't want to do this movie. Kill off my character. He did an interview with Vanity Fair where he said, look, I'll be honest with you, I fucking hate that movie. I hate that movie. They give you a contract and they go, 3-picture deal, here you go. And as a young actor, you're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I'm doing that. Time goes by and you get other jobs and you have a dream job you want to do. And the studio calls you up and is like, hey, we got a movie for you. We're going to send it to you. And they send it to you and it's G.I. Joe. The first one I passed on 7 times.
Oh, wow.
But they had an option on me and I had to do the movie. So the second one, I obviously just didn't want to do that one either.
Wow. Imagine having an option on you. But yeah, I'm just looking at his filmography. So he's not really doing much at Step Up movies. He's not even in the first Step Up movie. Step Up to the Streets. But yeah, G.I. Joe is 2009. It comes out. Then he does sort of a few rom-com-y things because he's a handsome guy, isn't he? Like The Dilemma. But then, and The Vow. But then 21 Jump Street and Magic Mike both come out in 2012. And then, yeah, G.I. Joe Retaliation is the year after. But then he's in White House Down, so he's like right back in as an action star after that.
Michael McGillicuddy was Rock's training partner to get into ring shape before his match. Rock is now behind him, and Triple H has always been a big proponent of him. It surprises me that he just kind of languishes. Obviously, there's been a big push for some time for him to get rid of that terrible name and just use Joe Hennig, but they are so against using real names these days because they want to fully own everyone's ring name.
Well, then call him Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, but I think the idea is that because they did the same thing with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
And I was like, and now he just looks like... And they even gave him the $1 million gimmick as well, and that didn't work out for him. But, you know, in fairness, he does re-debut in May under the new name Curtis Axel. And in that, he beats Triple H on his first night and then has Heyman as his manager. He's a Paul Heyman guy, and he goes into a feud with Punk in the summer when Heyman turns on Punk.
Yeah, because it's Heyman, Ryback, and Curtis Axel against Punk.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a Hell in a Cell match there.
Yeah, and it's really weird because it's like, that's the moment where you're like, ooh, Punk slipped down the card.
Yeah.
Because he goes from like WWE champion to The Undertaker to Brock Lesnar to Curtis Axel and Ryback.
Yeah. And with Heyman, it's like, oh, you're a bit less special. No one remembers that bit. They're just like, wow, Heyman, all swings and no misses. All hits and no misses. I don't know. Brock Lesnar, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Wow, what a career. But he did for about 6 months have Curtis Axel and Ryback.
Yeah. And
Cesaro.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, this Paul Heyman guy stable is just a bunch of lower level guys who are never going to go anywhere. Ryback did an interview in the Phoenix New Times and he mentioned his new nickname, The Big Hungry.
What? Not just the big guy, the Big Hungry.
The Big Hungry.
There's like a word missing. It's just adjectives.
He said it was his idea and the announcers used it.
That makes more sense.
But then Vince McMahon banned it. In this case, I thought it sounded awkward whenever the announcers said it.
Yeah.
They were trying it on TV, though.
It's
the Big Hungry Ryback.
It's not a complete Oh, wait, so is it the Big Hungry Ryback?
Well, that's what they would announce him as.
Not just the Big Hungry.
But, it's like they call Sheamus the Great White.
Yeah, I think that's okay, though, because when people say the Great White, it's because you don't need to fill in the last bit, which is the Great White Whale, because that's baked into popular culture from like 1850 with Moby Dick.
I think they commented, which has been like, oh, look, it's the big... when Roman come out, it's the big dog.
Yeah.
Ryback would come out and be like, here comes Big Hungry.
Yeah, but again, big dog works because it's an adjective and then a noun. You don't often have adjective. It sounds like you're hanging. The Big Hungry.
The Big Hungry.
The Big Hungry what? Bear? Caterpillar?
Thumbs up, thumbs down ratio, 87.9%. 87.9% thumbs up, 3.1% thumbs down, 9% in the middle.
It's a good show. I enjoyed this show.
Best match?
Oh, surely Punk versus Rock.
Yep. Worst match?
Well, there's not a bad match on this card. Is it the Rumble?
No, it went to the tag match. But that's because it felt like it was a standard TV match.
It feels like a TV match.
Yeah. Dave would say of the show, the WWE's second biggest event of the calendar year, the Royal Rumble, saw the expected finishes with The Rock capturing the WWE title from CM Punk and John Cena winning the Rumble to set up their WrestleMania match. Rock ended Punk's longest WWE title reign since 1987 with a restarted match after Punk scored a pinfall after interference from The Shield, who gave Rock the triple powerbomb through a table. Vince McMahon came out to strip Punk of the title because he said that if The Shield interfered, Punk would lose the title. Punk then told Mr. McMahon not to strip him the title because he was going to take it. 2 minutes later, Rock hit the people's elbow and pinned Punk. We'll play that clip later on because he's so out of breath he bollocks up his line. It's really funny. The finish was because the program was built on Punk saying the people don't matter and The Rock saying they do, and thus the people's elbow was used. The idea is that Rock will be doing a ton of media with several different movies coming out over the next 2 months and can talk about being the WWE champion. The idea is if the belt gets talked about in front of different people, plus there will be far more mainstream talk about the championship with him holding it. At one point, the plan was for Cena vs. Rock last year to be a title match, but the decision was instead that Cena vs. Rock didn't need the title, so it was kept on Punk for his match with Jericho. But with his comeback being last year, the story for this year was him getting the championship and defending it. Cena won the Rumble, then announced the next night he was going after the WWE title in a strange promo where he pretty well buried the world title and strangely claimed he had little chance of beating Punk or Rock. There were complaints about the winners being predictable, but as general rule, the pay-per-views in January and February usually are predictable because the key Mania matches are locked in by early January, which means the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber shows are filled with finishes booked to get to WrestleMania. I think the predictability thing, which I get, the only thing I didn't like about it on this one was because it was the two guys that I won.
Yeah.
I as a fan didn't want, but I totally got why they were.
I wanted The Rock. I think The Rock's doing great work in the Punk feud. I just had a look at what those movies are that The Rock could parade around. Snitch.
Is that the Will Smith movie? That's Hitch. That's Hitch.
No, Snitch, obviously, is an American action thriller film based on the experiences of a DEA informant. It was released in February, so that would have been one of the ones. Susan Sarandon and John Bernthal also in it. And then also, of course, we had G.I. Joe Retaliation, which came out in...
March, I think.
March 27th? Yeah, you already said that, didn't you? So yeah, both of those films would have happened before. And then we got, Pain and Gain.
Oh,
what a
with
run.
Wahlberg. That's the Michael Bay one, right?
That came out on April 26th. So The Rock had a movie a month coming out from February, March, and April. Fast and Furious 6 is after that, where you get a whole month between that and your next Rock movie. Fast and Furious 6, which is a fantastic movie, comes out on May 24th.
Wow.
Oh my God. And then I don't know what Empire State is. That looks like it's gone straight to DVD, going by the cover.
Who's in it?
That came out in March. Who's in it? Good question. I've never heard of this. Liam Hemsworth, Emma Roberts. The film was released straight to DVD.
You can look at that cover and say, that looks...
I called that.
Also, it's got Emma Roberts in it.
Yeah. Oh, weird. Yeah, so it did come out. Why has it got a March? Maybe it premiered on March 19th.
And then released on straight to DVD.
But wow, like when you're ever like, man, that actor is in the news a lot at the moment. They've got all these films coming out at the same time. The Rock, I think at this phase in his movie career, is definitely like, I'm hot. Let's strike while the iron is also warm.
I think it's also he brings his pro wrestling background to this, which is, give me everything. I will do all of the movies. I will eat all of the S because one of these, I'm basically doing this to make all of the connections. And so people was like, call up Dwayne because Dwayne's a good guy to work with.
Yeah.
And then you do all of that, and then you'll just be allowed to piss in bottles whenever you want, and no one will ask you about it.
And you can take over the DC universe with what is really a D-tier character.
No, he is just as good as Superman.
Okay, that one Jeff Johns run from 2011. Interestingly, the next film that would come out for him after Empire State, so you got, February's Snitch, March is G.I. Joe Retaliation, April is Pain and Gain, May is Fast and Furious, but then nothing comes out for over a year after that. It's because it's Hercules.
Yeah.
And maybe doing all this stuff at the same time with a wrestling career might have some knock-on effects if you get injured.
I was going to say, because he gets hurt at WrestleMania, and that really fucks over Hercules.
And to be honest, wrestlers for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Because now, off the back of that, and we'll go into this quite deeply with the WrestleMania 29 review, and that is because The Rock got injured pushing back Hercules, all movie studios need very aggressive insurance with specific terms which prevent wrestlers from getting physical around the production of a movie.
Yeah.
So you can no longer do one or the other. Like you can't do them both at the same time.
Yeah.
So Batista, John Cena, they had to make decisions where they would either go pursue this movie stuff or the wrestling stuff. Whereas before, you'd have wrestlers jump around, make the chaperone, come back.
Well,
you never miss them.
With WWE films, they were firing on all cylinders with Kane and Hornswoggle and Triple H. With Rock Punk being one of the strongest non-Mania main events of the past few years, put on top of the Rumble, which for years has been the company's number 2 event, it would be a huge disappointment if the show doesn't do the best non-Mania numbers for a WWE show dating back to at least 2008, if not longer. So I went and checked. This is WWE's best Rumble. It got 579,000 buys, and that has beaten every Rumble until you get to 2006, which is the one where Ray wins the Rumble, and it's also Cena and Edge. And oddly, and I remember thinking this was oddly at the time, do you know what the main event of that show was?
Not the Rumble.
No, the Rumble is the middle of the card.
2006.
And then there are 2 title matches afterwards.
They never cared about Ray.
100%.
What, Cena and Edge
So
is
Cena and
another
Edge,
match?
and it's not that one. It's a match, and it only goes like 8 minutes. It's really weird that it's the main event.
Triple H, Randy Orton.
Oh, what? Going 8 minutes? Come on now. If it's Triple H and Randy Orton, that is going 25.
What is it?
Kurt Angle and Mark Henry for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Wow.
2006 Mark Henry.
That's 5 years before we liked Mark Henry.
Very, very weird. Jericho signed a short-term contract with the company. The plan for him to turn heel and work with Ryback at WrestleMania with the idea of getting Ryback back to where he was. Jericho felt back in October for Hell in a Cell that it was the right time for Ryback to take the title. Of course he did. If you bring Jericho back and you're going to work with Ryback, I think it's time for him to win that title right there. However, that would have gotten away with the long-term plan. Jericho will be working all the Raws between now and WrestleMania, except for a couple of days when he'll be on a rock tour of Australia with Fozzy, on a tour headlined by Metallica. He'll be working some house show dates until that time and working full house show schedule from his return until WrestleMania. After Mania, he's doing another tour with Fozzy in Europe. He does have Mondays off and in theory could do Raw tapings when he's in WWE for the UK at the same time. The deal was cut fairly recently but kept quiet and hidden backstage. It was not last minute since they had a t-shirt ready for the day of the show.
I will say, in Jericho's defense, and we'll get onto it in the Rumble review, Ryback was really hot.
Oh, yeah, massively.
And there was a genuine argument to put the belt on him.
It's why they have the title match in October. The other surprise were The Godfather, Charles Wright, who barely got into the ring, and Goldust, who worked mainly against his half-brother, Cody Rhodes. The two of them had wanted to do a program in WWE, and they actually teased it on TV, but Vince McMahon nixed it. Yeah. It appears both were only in for the Rumble. Bo Dallas won the NXT Battle Royal held at Fan Access for the final spot. It's not a Battle Royal, by the way.
No, it's a tournament.
It's a tournament, yeah. There were other names, most notably Shelton Benjamin, who was talked about for the Rumble, which is because he was in ROH.
Oh, he's in ROH as World's Greatest Tag Team with Charlie Haas.
Yeah. One person said that the Dallas spot was decided on at the last minute and was likely supposed to go to Benjamin. Rikishi was also contacted to be a surprise entrant, but he had other commitments. Tommy Dreamer reportedly had discussions, but since they just used him as a TV surprise and because he's just worked for TNA, it was never really considered. A Caitlyn versus Tamina Snuka Divas title match was scheduled, but pulled before the show for time limits.
Well, what wrestler has other commitments on Royal Rumble weekend?
I know, right?
Every wrestler,
if you've worked for
past,
WWE,
present,
come on
future, any company, they keep that weekend free.
There are two rules in wrestling. One, do not book Rumble weekend. Number two, always bring your gear if you're invited to a WWE show. Even if you just invited backstage.
That's on Rikishi, man.
It is on Rikishi.
He's going to be like, it was a funeral, it was a wedding. I don't care, man. You keep that weekend free.
Reschedule it. You know, Pete Gas is more professional than you are, Rikishi. He brought his gear. Here's some trivia notes about this year's Rumble, thanks to Dave Meltzer. Bo Dallas, born May 25th, 1990, is the first person in the Royal Rumble who wasn't born at the time of the first Royal Rumble in 1988. The 2012.
But he was technically existing within his father, Mike Rotunda, at the time.
Well, no, because if the first one's in 1988 and he's born in 1990, it's 2 years.
But the Bulls.
You're trying to say that he just held on to those for 2 years?
We're all concepts. Like if it was someone with no family lineage in WWE, yeah, I'd take his point.
There's an old British euphemism, which is that before you were a glint in the postman's eye. Or the milkman's eye, I think it might be now. The 2012 Royal Rumble, with an average participant age of 35.8 years, is tied with the 1992 Royal Rumble as the second oldest in history behind 2008, where the average of the participant was 36.6 years. The youngest was the 2003 Rumble at 31.4.
Yeah, I imagine it's gone a lot older.
Yeah. While bell to elimination, Godfather with his slow walk to the ring with the hose was timed out at 47 seconds. He was actually in the ring for just 3 seconds, the third shortest in history, trailing Santino Morella's 1 second in 2009 and, for 20 long years, Wardlord's 2 second in 1989. Yeah, that's all the notes that we have for this show. Are you ready to get into it? Oh, no, because there's one more question to ask.
Every time.
I'm luring you in.
Tease me with this.
Luring you in. We've got a question to ask you, Ollie Davis. What is the #1 movie at the UK box office? Fun fact for you, producer Adam. Ollie Davis and I recorded a podcast about this. We were doing. I was doing a movie podcast at this point. I had like a regular, not a regular, but I had like a rotating cast of people who would appear on it. And you were one of those names, and you appeared on the show. It might even be the first podcast you and I actually did together.
Wow!
And I asked you at the start, "Do you want to be called Oliver or Ollie?" And you said, "You can call me O-Dog."
And did you?
Yes.
Should have stuck with that.
But yeah, you did talk about this movie because someone else in the podcast said that it was a really bad movie, and you then went to bat for it being a great movie.
Yes, I love both commercial and art house movies. So that could be either. That could be the other person saying it's too trashy, and I'm like, no, I loved it. Or it could be going, they're too pretentious. Like I loved it as well.
I believe, if I remember correctly, their comment was, it doesn't feel cinematic enough, and you thought that it felt incredibly cinematic.
Oh, blimey. January 2013. So this is Oscar season.
Oh yeah, this is like,
and it's an Oscar movie.
This is getting its Oscar buzz. Let me just check what don't you look at him, because I know you like to play the game. Look over my shoulder.
I'm pretty
sure this won Oscars.
I do not give one solitary flying F about the Oscars.
No, and nor should anyone else.
And
really.
I actually get quite annoyed, Dan Layton, when people do treat it like it's something I should know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Ollie, you did film at uni. You like the Oscars? You watch the Oscars? No.
It was nominated for Best Picture, but did not win. It won Makeup, Supporting Actress, and Best Sound Mixing. You know, the really important ones.
Supporting Actress is probably the best makeup.
Oh, and I can see why they won Best Supporting Actress.
You can see why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'd say that they've got like the big moment of the movie.
Okay, so it's not a case of makeup as in prosthetics for the supporting actress that has done it.
Not prosthetics, no.
But a new look for that actress.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Katniss Everdeen, Hunger Games. Mockingjay Part 2.
No, I'm afraid not.
Well, it didn't win.
Some other give you a little time frame for it.
More.
It beat, so it was went to the number one on the 13th of January and remained there until the 10th of February, where it was dethroned by Wreck-It Ralph. And it beat The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
Which would have been number one over the Christmas period, I bet. Oh, man, so an Oscar. So it was it didn't win, but it was obviously quite commercially hot. Back then, they only had 4 Best Picture nominations.
Look at that bit now. Hold on.
Oh, to be honest, it's not going to help me. I'm just interested. Any ideas? Wait, no.
I think the Oscar stuff gave it away.
Okay, so it's like my mind stops at the artist.
So I'm just going to sidle over and you can whisper into my ear.
My mind stops at the artist in like
Adam's got it.
09 or 2010, and then it picks up again at La La Land.
The only one I can tell you that won an Oscar was The Artist. And that would probably be the last time I can tell you what won. And I can't.
La La Land didn't even win. Now I've said that. Nora won.
The Artist won, right?
The Artist did win, yeah.
Yeah. 2012?
I can't remember. Oh, so it was the year before. Could have sworn I was at uni for that.
I might be wrong on that one.
Can I have more of a clue?
I think if
like an actual
told
story
you the genre, even if I think I told you anything about the movie, you would get it instantaneously. Can I?
Hurt Locker won Best Director, so it's not that.
Can I? If I tell you the director, you'll definitely get it. Do you want me to tell you who the actress was? I think you will instantly get it from me telling you who the actress was. It was Anne Hathaway.
Les Mis.
Les Mis. Told you.
One more day. Another day, another just. Okay, all right. How is that not cinematic? Let's bring this back up 12 years later. I get it. It was intentionally non-theatrical.
Yeah, that was kind of the point they were making. It doesn't feel like it's a movie. It just felt like it was a stage production, but filmed.
No, in no way. You've both seen it, right? The big production thing they did.
No.
Have you seen Les Mis on stage?
No.
Oh, it'll change your life. Maybe do that. So it's really great.
No, I haven't seen Wicked either, for the record.
Well, Wicked's not as nowhere near as good. So what they did is, to get away from the big stage theatrical production, is they had really, really small performance sets, and they would have Anne Hathaway in the room. They would perform the music live in the room, and it would be really close up on her. And I think I've never seen a musical filmed that way. It's a really intimate way. Tom Hooper is a director who hasn't really gone on. He did Cats. And it hasn't.
That pretty much ended his run. Hey, this guy can do musicals, right? There's no way that Cats will fail.
Well, it's because they took the buttholes out. If the buttholes were in, everyone would. That is an Oscar-winning movie.
One of my favourite things we've ever done is that everyone was freaking out about the Cats when they released that first trailer. You hadn't seen it. And so, like, me and Laurie, we were like, oh, man, we've got to show this to Ollie. You watched it, you were like, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah.
Like, and then you said...
The cats look pretty hot.
Yeah, you said, they actually look a bit sexy.
There is a bit there.
I think it's just because you saw Taylor Swift as a
Which
cat.
is crazy, because I'm not actually that attracted to Taylor Swift as a human.
But it's the Judy Hopps thing, right?
Do you remember
when we talked about, like, you know, you've got a bit of an affinity for Judy Hopps?
Yeah.
And then you saw a picture of a sexy lady dressed up as Judy Hopps, and you said, it's not the same.
It's not the same thing. Fall in love with the personalities.
So, and I would say it's the opposite of that. Not attracted to Taylor Swift, but make Taylor Swift a cat.
Yeah. So yeah, what I'm saying is that is an extraordinary movie. The big, blustery French Revolution fight scenes, very well performed and filmed. I cannot believe you can look at that movie and think that is not cinematic. It is pure cinema.
Prisoner 24601. That's the only thing I know about that movie is the interplay between, and not even the interplay, that one bit between Russell Crowe and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And that is all I know about Les Mis. And I will say, not even just about the movie, Les Mis, brackets general. The only thing I know about it is there is a character called Prisoner 24601 and Russell Crowe can't sing.
Jean Valjean.
Is he in the movie?
Jean Valjean. That's Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
Jobber. That's Russell Crowe.
Yeah. It means I'm free. It's the other bit I know.
You will know. I dreamed a dream of times gone by.
Oh, I thought that was Cats. What's the Cats?
Well, that's Susan Boyle.
Right. What's the Cats song?
It's in Marvels.
They sing in School of Rock. It's Memories. Memories all alone in a moon. Yeah, because the little girl sings it in, and Jack Black tells her to stop singing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's because Andrew Lloyd Webber is. I don't like his song. But yes,
Hal, it's about cats.
Les Mis, great film.
Yeah. Do you want to have a guess what the song was?
Definitely cinematic.
You'll never get it.
Oh, I assume it's I Dreamed the Dream from the movie Les Mis performed by Anne Hathaway.
I'm afraid it is not. No, it is not the number one song.
Oh, she essentially. I remember listening to an interview with her that she did with Simon Mayo, and Simon Mayo's like, "You got very, very slim." Like she went a bit method there to be kind of this sort of peasant woman in the 60s, whatever, France. And I remember being really impressed with her because she wouldn't say how she did it because she didn't want to give young girls who might be predisposed to sort of eating disorders any ideas. But yeah, sounds like she starved herself for a while. But so does Christian Bale for various roles that he does and loads of other actors.
Yeah, and what's his face? Shia LaBeouf took that to extreme measures when he did that movie about the tank. Fury, when he didn't brush his teeth and everyone else did, and their teeth looked exactly the same as his.
Yeah, well, at some point, just learn how to act, mate. And you don't have to do all that stuff.
Do you want to guess what the song is?
2013, January.
I can tell you. So it is a artist who got their big break from being part of a group, an American group.
JT?
No. And this is featuring one of the biggest pop acts of the late 90s into the early 2000s. And the artist would become a bit of a mainstay of UK music panel or music.
Danny Minogue?
No, she wasn't part of a group.
Yeah, good point. Talisa?
No, it's a dude.
It's a dude. Gary Barlow?
No, it's not Barlow. No, they had their group success fairly recently. They had a Christmas #1 probably quite a few years prior to this.
And the most useful thing here is you said reality panel show
yes,
judge.
He became a judge on a
Will.i.am.
It's Will.i.am.
So it's Will.i.am and Britney Spears.
Yep.
Britney, bitch. Oh, what's the name of that song? Is it just Britney, bitch?
Scream and Shout.
Oh, it's not Britney, bitch. Scream and shout.
Yeah, come on, for music.
My partner runs sort of circus workshops for kids sometimes, and they have Britney Bitch on the playlist. And whenever it gets to bitch, everyone goes, bananas! To cover up the sound.
That knocked off James Arthur's Impossible.
James Arthur, X Factor winner.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Hey, this is my era of poor music. We got the rushes from an interview someone did with him in the Soho vinyl shop. Yeah, he's got a fantastic voice, but he became quite a fixture in the gossip tabloid columns because he obviously like the ladies.
Yeah, he went with the lifestyle.
Yeah.
He got into that pop lifestyle. Yeah, sure did. We'll have more music chats when we come into February because we've got another, got more movies to guess and more music to guess. This is your era for music. Should we get into the actual show itself?
Yes, please.
There was a comment that was left on the last episode that we don't respect people's time because we spend the first hour of this podcast talking about ourselves and, quote, indie wrestling.
Yeah, well, we have now spent about an hour and 20 minutes doing that. So feedback absorbed and pooed out the other side.
Feedback absorbed and ignored. So yeah, we have our opening video package for this where you never have enough time, but tonight is a time when everything changes. Previous winners of the Rumble like Austin, Michaels, AAA, Ray, Sheamus. One of those things is not like the other. And then he said, it all begins when the clock hits 0, which is not entirely accurate because the first 2 entrants don't have countdown timers.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh, but that's nip.
So then they go over the changes to CM Punk, who's now doing pipe bomb.
Well, this is great. It's so fun watching highlights of heel CM Punk, and then it's juxtaposed with 10 years later after his absence, the people have their champion back, The Rock.
I had my champion already.
You had your champion already.
Even The Rock was one of my guys. Oh, I like Punk.
Going through their feud though, it is like this is so much bigger. It feels so much bigger and cooler. Bringing that cool word in, than Cena teaming with Rock at Survivor Series 2011.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
the match is so much better than any of the Cena matches, but the promo work that these two are having is so much better.
But even with all of this stuff, let me find it. So 2 minutes 54. Yeah, even with all of the excitement, I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a better job on the match graphic. So here's the end of that video package, and it's a still image. Oh, I can't really. Can you increase the brightness here?
Yes, I can.
Can't really see it because it looks like I've cut them out.
There ain't no way you're gonna stop The Rock at Royal Rumble.
That's me doing it. That's
Yeah.
me doing it on Photoshop.
I look at the bit that they've cut out of Rock's
Well, that-
head, so they've got the folds.
That's because no one's going to see those bits on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Like when I cut those people out, when I talk about, it's about 2017 when I was, doing the news and I was editing the news and making my own thumbnails and stuff. You just hope that no one's really going to notice those bits.
It might be the weird effect on the background, but CM Punk's neck looks like it needs some feathering to blend the harsh cut-out outline.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got better tools now than we did 12 years ago for this.
Yeah.
But it's just we've done the previous 2 years of shows. I feel like the production and the graphics were better for WrestleMania 27 than they have been in the following years.
Well, we'll see what happens when we get to Chamber and the next elimination. Sorry, the Chamber and then the next WrestleMania. But yeah, Punk. I loved Punk during all of this period of time. The "Your arms too short to box with God" promo is like amazingly iconic. But I love, it's not an opinion; it's a fact. I won't let you ruin this because I'm the champion. I'm the best in the world.
And also that sort of theme he's saying that the people are the problem.
Yeah.
The Rock is the people's champion, and that means you're the problem, people.
Yeah.
Because that means serious wrestlers like me, like Daniel Bryan, at one point he says Brodus Clay in that promo.
Yeah.
We'll get into that promo. It's really good. That's an odd example. They need to do comedy acts, or Daniel Bryan is just a catchphrase now. He's the best submission wrestler in the world.
Yeah.
Like, he has to infantilize himself for you. You're the problem, not me. The voice of the voiceless has turned on the voiceless. It's great character work.
Yeah. I love that I won't let you ruin this at the Royal Rumble. You don't get to win. I'm the best in the world. And it's hilarious actually now that in 2025 he's cut more or less the same promo on an episode of Raw. Is you don't get to come back and ruin my WrestleMania main event. Time is a circle. Our opening contest for the World Heavyweight Championship, it is a mid-card belt at this point, in a last man standing match is The Big Show the former champion taking on our new World Heavyweight Champion and new babyface, Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, do we want to get into this babyface trajectory for Del Rio?
Yeah.
Because the last show we did was Raw 1000 on Patreon. Please go watch it. And Del Rio was a heel. He was in that 3-man tag with Jericho and Ziggler. They're the heels going up against it. It was like Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, and Sin Cara. And Del Rio is a heel for like the rest of that year. He feuded with Randy Orton for a number 1 contender spot. He lost to Orton a lot. His team beat Orton's team at Survivor Series, but Orton did eliminate him. His team, the heel team, was led by Ziggler, beat Orton's team, led by Mick Foley.
Huh.
It was Team Foley versus Team Ziggler, apparently.
What a weird time.
And then Del Rio lost to Orton in a 2 out of 3 falls match the next night on Raw. So it's classic WWE, and they're like, well, we're going to turn you face soon. You're going to either win a title or have a change of character. So we're just going to beat you into the ground. So in mid-December, he starts his babyface turn in TLC, which begins when Ricardo Rodriguez and the Spanish announce team are getting beaten up by 3MB. So Del Rio gets together his own Avengers 3-man group of The Miz, who's also a face at this point,
yeah.
and the Brooklyn Brawler. Feels pretty mid-card.
Oh, mid-card's a stretch.
But then, this is actually what happened. In 2012, WWE thought, let's continue this Del Rio babyface turn by having him run over Santa Claus. Do you remember this angle?
I do remember this angle because I also remember all the talk about it from the time as well.
So, Santa Claus, it's the 24th of December episode of Raw, I think. Yeah, it's Raw. So, Christmas Eve, and Santa Claus is out there. Not Foley, I don't think. And he's giving presents to the kids. But also, Del Rio's got a match. And Ricardo is doing the ring introduction. Here he goes. He comes out. But Santa's still there. He's just in the corner. Santa's going to leave. Oh, no, but Del Rio's coming in his car. And he runs over Santa. and Del Rio gets out like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah.
I've killed Santa Claus.
That means I've now got to be Santa Claus. That's what the Santa Claus is.
Yeah. He shaves and it comes right back. So yeah, that's genuinely what Vince McMahon thought. Look at this. Look. It's the face of a man who's just realised he's killed Christmas. Do they stretcher him off? That would be so funny if they get like a little sleigh stretcher. But it's like, this is played up, genuinely, with the same seriousness of the New Age Outlaws pushing Foley and Terry Funk off the stage in a dumpster.
It's Santa. He's the #1 babyface.
Oh no. Del Rio has
What about,
killed...
look, they give him a stretch job and
They do put him on
everything.
the stretcher. So this is like...
He gives the thumbs up.
What did we live through?
Oh, dude, wait till you get to the chamber. The chamber recap of how we get to Big Show Del Rio 3 is... You look at it and you're like, how do we ever put up with this? And also, how did this booker and this promoter ever create any baby faces? And the answer is he didn't.
Yes, yeah.
This is the official babyface turn of Alberto Del Rio, and the talk at the time was, because this is the Christmas Eve episode, not many people watched it. So when they all came back after the Christmas break and watched Raw, everyone's really confused that Del Rio is now a babyface, and they explain it's because he ran over Santa.
And even, like, I watched that episode. I'm watching it now. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's an effective way to turn anyone babyface.
Hot take.
Just sort of came to me. I'm so glad we don't have TLC in mid-December anymore. Who has woken up and gone, God, I missed that mid-December pay-per-view from WWE.
Yeah.
Thank you, Triple H, for getting rid of that the last 2 years.
It's particularly like
Always a dud show.
the December that's just gone as well, Punk's injured for. So he's not on the show at all. It's headlined by Cena versus Ziggler for his Money in the Bank briefcase.
Oh, God, yeah.
So yeah, we have
Sorry. So Del Rio's a babyface now, apparently. Ricardo Rodriguez got a world title match against the Big Show on the 28th of December episode of SmackDown. But Big Show knocked out Ricardo backstage because he wouldn't face him. Del Rio got the title match instead. That ended in a no contest when Sheamus got involved. They had the rematch, the last man standing match. And that's when Del Rio won the belt from Big Show 3 weeks ago on SmackDown. Why not save it for the Rumble?
Because to build a last man standing match on pay-per-view, you do a last man standing match on TV. That's logical to me, bud.
There's also this problem with Del Rio's character. Like, Del Rio, we're separating Del Rio back then from, all the stuff we know about him now. Del Rio back then was a really good, rich heel. He was one of the better versions of Vince McMahon trying to do the rich asshole character on screen. Great presentation with the car, with the music, with Ricardo Rodriguez doing his ring introductions. Nowadays, you would take elements of that character and transition them into a babyface. Back in those really bad days, Vince would go, here's your new character. It really in no way fits what it was before. And that new character is, you are Mexican Bret Hart.
Yeah.
You are this one-dimensional babyface with nothing else to you.
If it pleases the court, that's not going to be the case when we get to February.
Is he a heel again by February?
No. He's a babyface. Of course he's a babyface. His WrestleMania thing is all about being a babyface against the evil Jack Swagger. But he's a new babyface come February.
Okay.
And you'll see what I mean.
Maybe there's hints in the match at what that will entail. Okay, so that's
So we'll park that for the Patreon episode. You can actually hear Ollie's reaction to that over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
Big Show, actually, ironically, has stayed heel.
Yeah.
He hasn't turned either way. He was a heel back at Raw 1000. He's a heel now.
Yeah. He beat Sheamus for the world title at Hell in a Cell in October. A title reign I have zero memory of. And I watched that show. I bought that pay-per-view. And I do not remember the Big Show winning the world title from Sheamus on that show.
Can't believe Sheamus held the belt from Mania to October as well.
Well, it's because they forget they have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that other belt. We should probably put that on someone else. So we are turning Del Rio babyface here. And 2 reasons, it's probably 3 reasons really. The first 2 are connected together though. So we want to break into the Mexican market. And Sin Cara's not working out. And then the option 3 is they've got this idea for a new character to be introduced post the Royal Rumble who's going to win at Elimination Chamber and will face Del Rio as a heel that will really cement who Alberto Del Rio is as a babyface.
Oh, is this Dutch?
And this is when we get the new version of Jack Swagger and Dutch Mantel's, Zeb Coulter's Real American. So yeah, we'll talk about all of that next month when we get to... Actually, we can talk about it a little bit when we do the Chamber episode, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. And then we'll talk about it even more detail because that's when they get into all of the America versus Mexico stuff. Interesting, though, I didn't include this in my Observer notes, but Del Rio did an interview where he said that WWE are actually looking at the Mexican market at this point. They actually have effectively given up on trying to recapture it because they're not buying tickets, they're not buying pay-per-views, so they're not going to bother trying anymore.
Could it be the quality of what we're selling? No. It's the Mexicans' fault.
So we have built to this last man standing match by having a last man standing match. And backstage...
So this is the last man standing?
Backstage. So Big Show makes his entrance. And then Del Rio is walking backstage. And Ricardo walks up and he calls Big Show a big jackass. And then they walk past Bret the Hitman Hart, who stands up and he's like, you remind me of a Mexican Bret Hart. And Del Rio says, well, you remind me of a Canadian Alberto Del Rio.
It's a lot more useful when you're told these things rather than shown.
And then Bret's like, you go out there and you get Big Show that big tub of goo and you show him why you're the world champion.
This is a literal quote. This isn't you just saying.
No,
stuff.
it's a literal quote. He says, I fought Big Show before and he's a big tub of goo.
Mm-hmm.
And then Del Rio walks away and Ricardo geeks himself out by being like, I'm such a big fan. So Bret gives him his sunglasses and he marks out, bro.
Yeah. Bret doesn't want to be there. And
No, what gives you that impression?
and then Michael Cole on the commentary desk. This is where we see, here's our commentary lineup. It's Cole, it's Lawler, it's JBL.
Uh-oh.
Ugh. JBL's in heel mode. It's not going to be fun. That is probably the worst thing about this show. But Cole's line to get from that backstage segment into this match is from Hall of Famer Bret Hart to Hall of Famer Jerry Lawler right next to me. It's such a clunky segue.
2 years ago, they were feuding. They had a match at WrestleMania. And he's just like, now I'm sat next to a WWE Hall of Famer. Yeah, it's not really great. But what I really like about Ricardo's babyface presentation is because the whole deal with Ricardo being his personal ring announcer is it's a heel thing. He's so rich and pompous. He's got his own personal ring announcer. But now he's a babyface. But he's still got the personal ring announcer. So Ricardo does the same intro. But it feels more humble now.
Yeah. Ricardo's great.
Yeah.
Like he is, you just feel he feels like an eternal babyface. Even when he's like interfering in matches as a heel, you're kind of like, I like the guy though.
And they looked at him and they were like, let's pair him up with Rob Van Dam. I think that's going to work out. So yeah, talking about the Bret thing, and we'll talk about this a bit more when we get to the Royal Rumble. WWE have got a boner for legends at the moment and bringing in legends in to give the newer talent the rub. But kind of in doing that, what they do is just have the newer guys fawn over the legends, which just makes the legends feel like bigger stars. We saw a lot of this at Raw 1000s, but that is a one-off show. It's supposed to be celebrating the past. But when we get into the Rumble itself, they name drop so many legends in the clunkiest way possible. Yeah. But we have the match here. Del Rio does a seated senton at one point, and Michael Cole tells us that now that Alberto Del Rio is a good guy, he's using lucha libre moves. That's how you know. But Show keeps shutting down Del Rio using his strength and size, and the crowd chant for tables. Show gets a chair, but it's actually Del Rio that uses it. And the crowd are chanting C with each one of his chair shots. Show catches Alberto Del Rio with a chokeslam, but he gets back up at 8 to 9, and he's woozy and he sort of falls to the outside.
Can I just show the camera work on these chair shots?
Oh, is it? I've actually got very similar notes for when we get to Sheamus's beat to the barrier, I think.
Yeah, because the WWE production's very good now. Let's just remind ourselves of the crash zooms. Oh, it was a bit too early.
You're on the wrong bit.
And now Del Rio wearing out Big Show, trying to keep the big man down for the count of 10.
I feel a bit car sick.
Yeah, it's what people always used to say about this. You remember that there was that video that went around on Twitter of someone a fan footage of filming the cameraman doing it. He was like doing squats as he was filming. It's hilarious.
JBL then explains, by the way, that C is the southern version of yes.
I've got a big JBL note much later on. They brawl up onto the stage, and Alberto Del Rio kicks Big Show in the nuts. I've written here, so let's see if my past me was correct, because I've written here at 1851, funny Big Show sell. So let's see if he was, and I do remember I was correct on this one of when he kicks him in the nuts.
Oh, Del Rio went low. No disqualification.
Oh, it's like he's turned off. It's like he's powering down.
He literally goes.
And then a really good super kick. Hey, we should say this is a good match.
It's all right.
It's really good. It's good in the ring, and then when they brawl up the
Yeah.
ramp like they're doing now, and they get to the top of the stage, I think it goes into that. Oh, this feels more like a early noughties fun hardcore match.
It's a great pay-per-view opener because you get to do all the big table spots and stuff because they brawl up to the stage, they set up a table, and then Show like climbs up onto the structure and lifts Del Rio up onto it and then choke slams him off this like structure through the table, and Del Rio's barely back up at 9.
Yeah, it's a cool looking stage. I'll just try and find a more zoomed out shot. There's all these metal grates that are quite thick that are suspended from the ceiling.
We're still trying in stages at this point.
Yeah. And it looks a bit low effort, but they use it quite well here. Big Show climbs to the top like Luke just said. But look at this bump that Del Rio takes. It's a choke slam off of it. Oh! And he takes it all on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But I watched this with our wrestler friend, and he said, look at the camera trickery. And I was like, what? I was only looking at the table bump. So what happens is, he said, taking a choke slam through a table is not nice because the bumper is not in control of when they go down. So you don't know when you're going to prepare. Of course, you can go up and you go, now. You know? But generally, like this, it's, especially going through a table, you want to be as in control of it as possible. So what actually happens here is Del Rio chokeslams himself. Because then he's in control of when he bumps through the table. Not as in control as he would like to be, because he lands on his shoulder, but that is all him, not Big Show. Yeah. But the camera cuts to a mid shot of them, so you cannot see Del Rio doing that. It looks like Show picks him up. So I'll just play it again with that in mind. So you got the wide there, you can see that like Del Rio is up, but really Big Show just moves his hand up and down, and Del Rio makes the leap.
What wrestler friend were you talking to?
It was Tony.
I mean, I thought it was, but I was like, do we have like another wrestler that was in the office that was telling you about these things?
I think because I watched that bit and I went, oh! He went, let me watch. What they've done there.
I thought it was a really good spot, and JBL was like, we got a fight on our hands now. So Show loads up the WMD, but ADR rolls to the outside. That's Alberto Del Rio, but I'm reading my notes verbatim. And then Ricardo like gets in, he tries to like distract Show and sort of hits him, but Show throws him into the barricade, and that gives Del Rio enough time to move out of the way as Show charges, and he crashes through the barricade. It's a cheat code to get the crowd to pop, but my, is it always effective, particularly when it's a guy like the Big Show doing it.
Yeah, I love that bump.
Yeah.
Weirdly, at the same time, just before that, Ricardo's been taken out by Big Show. You can see him in the background there. Mm-hmm. He continues to bump around. He's like, I can't. See, he's that little mound
I can see him. Yeah, he's that big tub of goo there.
And he's just trying to get out of the way. He does a little like barrel roll in the background.
Do a barrel roll.
He's like, I need to get out of the shot. I need to hug the apron so I'm not crowding the frame. Also in this, someone in the crowd has a happy birthday DDP sign. I thought, oh, okay, it's DDP's birthday. Just check that. His birthday is the 5th of April.
Huh. Maybe it's their friend, Derek David Peterson. So yeah, we then get a weird spot here where Del Rio upturns the steel steps and he puts Big Show's arm in between like the crook of the steps, and you can kind of sort of see it in this shot here. Like they've got the sort of the V, and then he grabs a chair and he hits the top of the stairs because it makes a loud clattering noise. But it's going to be nowhere near Big Show's arm because he's very much deep within that V.
That's trickery. I don't mind that. Yeah. That's how because to the people in the audience, like
you just hear the big sound.
It sounds great.
And that also then builds to the finish because he then locks in the arm bar. How are you going to get you know, you can't make someone not stand up from doing the armbar. That's not a great way to end this match. But that is because Ricardo Rodriguez, from doing his barrel rolls to get underneath the ring, duct tapes Big Show's feet to the ropes. They do this finish in a Batista,
Yes, they
John
do,
Cena last man standing match.
I think it's the one that Batista loses, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because he duct
has
tapes
to
his
quit
feet.
the company.
Yeah, and they duct tape his feet to the ropes, and Cole is like, "This is brilliant! What a brilliant strategy!" And JBL is freaking out about this, and the crowd chant along with 10. Alberto Del Rio wins. Fun match.
They do the 10 count in Spanish as well, which is fun. But yeah, if it was just doing the legs on the ropes, I'd be like, oh, that's already been done. But the idea of taking out the arm first, Big Show's so big, he can't get himself up with one arm. I thought it was a good finish. And this is what I was going to say about the Del Rio babyface edge. I thought that was more of a crafty Latino heat style to win, rather than the Mexican Bret Hart.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see next month is that finish does sort of tie into what's going to happen with him in the next portion of this Big Show build. And I should add as well, this babyface character is not going to last until we get to WrestleMania, because then you get into a new phase of it when they go up against Zeb Coulter. And not Alex Jones, which apparently was one of their plans.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Alex Jones.
I believe that's who they were looking to get involved in it. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Dave Meltzer gave it 2 3/4 stars.
That's unfair. I think that's 3.5. I enjoyed that match.
And Vinny V for Figure 4 said, very good pay-per-view opener, but it's been nearly a month now and Babyface Del Rio just still hasn't defeated a guy clean with his finisher and walked out with his head held high. 3.25 stars. Which I think is a fair criticism. And actually, that is kind of the build for the next show, is that they have the rematch, the third match in the trilogy, because Big Show's point is, you've never pinned me. So that's why we have just a straight singles match when we get to the chamber. Backstage, Matt Striker interviews Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee, and Big E Langston. This trio got together sort of in the latter part of last year. The last time we saw AJ Lee, she was the general manager of Monday Night Raw.
So this is, in our Raw 1000 one, but TLC, that's main evented with Cena versus Ziggler.
Yeah.
For Ziggler's Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah.
Is that when AJ Lee sides with him? She pushes over the ladder. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But yeah, loads of fun. This is a good act.
Yeah.
That they don't make any sense visually together.
No, they do, because they look like your starting lineup for Final Fantasy VII. It looks like
lost on me.
It's Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa. It's like the second they come out and they did their intro, I was like, oh, it's the starting lineup for Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, you see, I don't know what that is. It's like, is that a movie?
It's because you're not cool.
Is it? Oh, it's the CGI movie from the early noughties, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Spirits Within.
Yeah, the one that everyone thought was going to replace actors.
Well, they did. It does look good.
Yeah, it looks too good.
Yeah.
Maybe they just gave people latex masks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't CGI at all.
You think it's one big conspiracy?
Yeah. One big final conspiracy. But yet here, I mean, what do you think of when you first see these three together?
Well, Final Fantasy VII is what I said.
Yeah,
right, sorry.
Yeah.
When Big E Langston does it and he elbows AJ in the face.
No, in the boob.
Oh, in the boob.
It's straight in the tit. And it's like,
yeah.
It's that sort of reckless swing you do when you think no one's next to you. That is full Big E arm strength. They're just going, whoa.
Right in the tit.
Straight in the boobie. Ouch. But yeah, that's so much fun together. And AJ Lee, somehow no soul them. He probably cracked a rib.
Well, it's working. It's working elbows.
Yeah.
Working elbows, working boobies.
I thought this was a really good promo.
Yeah.
Really got over them as an act. Really got over the Money in the Bank briefcase, because Ziggler's like, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble, and I'm also going to keep this briefcase. I'm going to win both belts at WrestleMania and unify them.
Yeah.
And I'm so confident in myself, I'm going in at number 1. And that's really good for this era, because like Alberto Del Rio, all our favorites were not credibly booked. They were booked as people who mostly got lucky and had no faith in themselves. But here's Ziggler going, I'm the best. I'm going to win the Rumble, and I'm going to win all the championships.
The problem, I think, with Dolph is that he has been saying for a year now, I'm going to cash this in the main event of WrestleMania. I don't want to spoil the end of WrestleMania 29, but he doesn't.
Yeah, but he does do it the next night.
He does it the
and
next
it's
night
one
instead.
of the all-time great moments of Raw.
It is, but it kind of lends that lack of credibility to a person. If your whole story for a year has been, I'm going to cash in the main event of WrestleMania, and then at WrestleMania, all you do is not win the tag titles, it does make you a little bit chump. But
I
it's
disagree.
But it's the rule.
He's a
of,
heel.
But it's the rule of well, yeah. But
He's
then
a hashtag heel.
and
he did it the next night.
But that's what I was thinking, is because you have the moment the following night. It makes you forget the fact that you've spent the last 6 months being like, hey, I'm going to do this thing that I never actually did.
I don't mind it. I think that's a heel thing to do. If he's a babyface saying that, yeah, you've got a problem.
I know. I no, because I think that's you building up a story with no payoff. And there's a part of me that thinks that it's just him going off, like, because they've got no plans to do that, but he's trying to will that into existence.
And who does he beat on that Raw after Mania? Babyface Alberto Del Rio. And everyone cheers Dolph.
Well, it's because it's a cool moment.
Yeah, but also because everyone loves Dolph.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a huge Dolph fan at this time.
Big E Langston also does a wacky news reporter voice in all of this. This is a Big E Langston reporting. Yeah, I like the idea, though, of, I remember saying to a friend of mine, they're all going to be draped in gold at the end of WrestleMania. I was like, AJ's going to win the Divas Championship, they're going to win the tag titles, and Dolph's going to win the world title. I thought he's going to cash in on Del Rio at WrestleMania. And I was like, and they will end the night just with all of the gold, and there'll be this huge super group going into the summer. I was so wrong.
Just on AJ, because you were like, well, last time we saw her on this series, Raw 1000, she was going to get married to Daniel Bryan, but Vince McMahon shockingly made her the general manager of Raw. That's got legs, right? AJ stepped down from her general manager duties on October the 22nd after becoming embroiled in a scandal storyline with John Cena. Vicky Guerrero alleged that they had an affair and presented various material over the next month to support her claim. AJ had feuded with Vicky and Paul Heyman before that in some kind of nonsense authority figure. Blur.
Well, Vicky is integral to why Dolph is at number one, because if I remember correctly, at least what Dolph said, he won a beat the clock challenge to get the number 30 spot, but then Vicky reversed it to be like, now you instead, because he said she's just bitter and jealous because he's left Vicky Guerrero to date AJ Lee instead. And so he said, well, number one and number two are the same thing, so I'll just be number one. We then hear from the stars of this year's Royal Rumble, like it's 1991, and we're just standing in front of a screen, like a curtain, and we're just going to address the camera and cut a 15-second promo about why we're going to win the Royal Rumble.
You say it's like 1991. It's also like 2014 the next year. Because they do the exact same thing. That's where you've got the Usos and one of the most cringy things. And it's why I can't get on board with the Eatlemania. Jey Uso's like, well, and Jimmy, we don't mind which one of us wins. We're brothers.
Yeah.
And it's so lame. It's everyone goes through, it's kind of we've got a Guess Who board in the office that is WWE branded. And it's from like 2017.
Yeah.
And it's a real snapshot into WWE at the time. Because you look through it and you're like, oh yeah, there's Titus O'Neil. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's Kozlov.
Yeah.
People, and this is kind of what this is like.
A little bit, yeah. Like, it's even, we didn't mention it earlier, but Big E is actually an early example, him, Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns, of their early examples of NXT call-ups. You know, Rollins and Big E, former NXT champions. Big E's come up with his 5-second gimmick. And now he's getting like this new fresh character and a new coat of paint on top of them. This is early NXT call-ups. And Antonio Cesaro is another example of, you used to have a first name. Until Vince went into his weird phase where he was like, no one has a first name anymore. Everyone is just one name, like Madonna.
What did we live through?
So it's just Riddle.
Yeah.
It's not Matt Riddle.
Theory.
Theory is the worst one, yeah.
So Antonio Cesaro says the last few winners haven't been American. and that will continue.
Yep.
Because he's going to win. Randy Orton.
Well, don't skip over the primetime players.
Yeah, primetime players. Millions of dollars.
They also are a snapshot in time because they do the "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That" meme from around this period of time.
I don't remember that meme.
No, ain't nobody got time for that.
And what's that
It was
in reference to?
It was a woman being asked something, and she replied, "Ain't nobody got time for that," and it became a viral sensation. So if I can find it. You carry on. I'll see if I can find it.
We get Randy Orton, who is like so low energy. Tonight's my kind of night. I need this win, and I'm going to take it. And then it goes into John Cena, and he's like, I'm John Cena, and I'm going to come down. Oh, the Silver Dome, brother. He's doing goofy Hulk Hogan. Oh, I hate it so much. Wade Barrett is the Intercontinental Champion. He's restored credibility to the IC belt.
No, you
now
haven't.
he'll do the same for the Rumble, who hasn't had a credible winner for ages. Segue into the next person, last year's winner, Sheamus.
Who wonderfully says, "How are you?
How are you?
How are you? My name's Sheamus."
I've got 29 brogues for 29 wrestlers. And I'm like, but that's, you've got one extra shoe there.
Well, yeah, but also that only works if you're number one and you're going to eliminate 29 other guys. I
could all fill up.
I know that's the gimmick of it. Is like you've got to eliminate 29 other superstars, but you don't. You've just got to be the last one standing.
Come on, man. How is he going to say that in a snappy line? I'm going to 29 brogues for 29 wrestlers. Snappy. What Luke wants, everyone listening.
I'm going to hit my finish on whoever is in the ring and then win the Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that I'm buying the pay-per-view. Now that Luke's going to be there and he's going to enter a number and then he's going to eliminate whoever's in the ring and then hopefully all the other people who are left in the match and then he'll win.
And then I'll win. Snappy by the pay-per-view. It's in this area. I found the meme, the original one.
Ain't nobody got
President
time for
describes her
that.
horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, "Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire." Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
According to the apartment manager.
What a treasure.
Yeah. That was my partner at the time thought that was the funniest thing in the world. She used to quote it all the time.
I do. It rings a bell now. You've shown it to me. That's like a fake news clip you'd get in a Judd Apatow movie.
Yeah.
Where this bit part is trying to get over. But that's a real person
It's a
in real
real
life.
person.
I'm happy those people
That
exist.
is IRL. And then, so the last one we get is Ryback.
Oh, please use his real name.
Sorry, the Big Hungry. Who I think has the worst one of these because he goes, "I'm not the best in the world. I'm not the world's largest athlete. I sure as hell don't eat Fruity Pebbles. I'm not gonna have a pint after the match." It's like, okay, so you're not good, you're not strong, you're not over, and you're not fun.
Oh, so people who don't drink aren't fun. Right, okay. You're teetotal.
Yeah. He's he's trying to appeal to CM Punk.
Yeah.
Can we be friends now? Then he ends with "Feed me more." Like, do you want to talk about Ryback now? Because he's kind of funny to look back on this period of time because it is, I don't think a lot of people who are watching might remember this or weren't around for this period of time. He was over like Rover. He was one of those, the squash match thing, because Vince has got a very template thing for a big guy. You're just going to do squash matches each week. And you're going to go in there with the tiny lad and you're going to squash them. And more often than not, I would say 95% of the times he did this, it never got over. But with Ryback, when he hit the shell shock, it really, really got over. And he got past the Goldberg chants that used to dominate his matches. He got past that and all of a sudden just became one of their top stars.
Yeah, what happened was, obviously he was Skip Sheffield in the first Nexus, so he's been around since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I think then he gets injured.
He gets hurt.
So he's off for a while. And he comes back earlier in the previous year, so after last year's WrestleMania, I think. And he's now Ryback. And he always had...
His full name?
He's now Big Hungry. He always had this explosiveness. And he was always... Skip Sheffield was one of the standout people in those Nexus beatdowns. It was Barrett, it was Justin Gabriel's 450, and it was Skip Sheffield's amazing spear. And he just, he had that Goldberg energy to him, which is why people chanted at him.
And he was in a single. Which is because he was just winning squash matches and they kept putting over, he's undefeated and he's bald.
And they're doing that bit. And he's like, he's getting over. People are enjoying these squash matches. I sure was. And then 4 weeks in, he takes on 2 guys. He takes on 3 guys. They do the variations of them. And like you said, 95% of the time, Vince then gets bored because he doesn't have any more ideas past that setup phase. Usually, you do that person and you feed them to John Cena.
We'll get to Lord Tensai later.
And because obviously it worked with Braun Strowman as well, who worked so well, he got over one of the squashies in James Ellsworth.
I remember being at what was supposed to be a WWE Network event. They did like the Beast in the East when they did the Japan show. And that was like a televised thing on the network. They were booked one for London at the O2. And me and my friend Kel got tickets to go to it. And then just before they did that, they did the brand split and then didn't do it it just became a regular house show. But Braun Strowman was on that show and he had just like debuted and he was starting doing squash matches on TV. I remember turning to Kel and I said, he's going to get massively over. And Kel said, why? And I was like, he shouts his own name at the start of his song. It's so awesome.
So I've just looked up Ryback to get the timeline right. He returns from injury, which he's had since like a while, on the April 6th episode of SmackDown. So that's after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then he goes on a 38-match winning streak. And during that time, I think something happened where Cena got injured. Someone got injured. So they no longer could do the CM Punk versus John Cena or whoever it was match at the pay-per-view. And then backstage, 3 weeks out, Ryback steps into shot. It's like, I'm going to do it.
Me.
And all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, I just thought this was going nowhere, or at the very best to the Intercontinental title direction. But this new guy who's gotten over and has won 38 matches over the last 5 months, he's going to wrestle CM Punk in a Hell in a Cell match in October. And there were a lot of people, not me, but I could definitely see the argument, who were like, put the belt on him. You put the belt on him in October, he loses it back via shenanigans the next month, so you can still do the punk rock plan. Put the belt on him, because then you have actually made the start of a new genuine main eventer.
Yeah, I remember buying Hell in a Cell because my mate and I were like, how are they going to get out of this one? That is why we bought it. It was almost like going to see a David Copperfield show. How's he going to escape from this one? Because we were like, you can't just beat Ryback. Your whole thing is he's undefeated. But you're not going to put the title on him because it's Punk Rock at the Rumble and the whole deal is going to be Rock's going to end a historic reign. Like, if Rock just beats Punk if he's won it back in November, that is less impressive if he's had it for 400 odd days. So we were just, absolutely convinced in our minds, well, Punk's not losing, so how is Ryback going to lose and still make him look credible? And we never anticipated Brad Maddox.
Yeah. So, as soon as the match started, I was like, who's that referee?
I absolutely did not see the referee at all.
This was a time where WWE went out of their way to not acknowledge anyone, anywhere, who were not wrestlers.
Yeah.
So the referees didn't get names, they weren't talked about. And yet all of a sudden there's this guy with quite distinctive curly dark hair refereeing the main event of the pay-per-view, a Hell in a Cell match as well.
Yeah.
That's quite like... So I remember at the time going like, that's odd. And in something in the back of my head, I was like, something's gonna play into this. And yeah, it was Brad Maddox. He did a controversial pin. I think
he low blows Ryback, doesn't he?
Well, it says here where he lost after a controversial pin by referee Brad Maddox.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. If I remember the finish of the match is that Brad Maddox low blows him and Punk rolls him up, and then I think he might do a fast count.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right. Ryback attempted the shell shock, but referee Brad Maddox inexplicably, this is the Wikipedia, stopped Ryback and attacked him with a low blow. Punk pinned Ryback with a roll-up, and Maddox made a fast count.
Yeah, because that was their way to protect Ryback, because what they'd done is booked themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they did in 2019 with The Fiend and Seth Rollins, is you've got this guy that's hugely over, so you're like, well, put him in a world title match. And then you're like, oh, but we don't want to beat him in a world title match. Uh-oh, too late. He's in a world title match.
And that one, though, just beat Seth Rollins. There's no reason Seth Rollins should have won that match.
What, rah-rah Seth Rollins?
Because the next month, he loses the title at the Saudi Arabia show. But here, they tried to turn this into a storyline. On Raw, Brad Maddox, who you've never seen before the previous night, explained that he was trying to make a name for himself and become famous so he could become a WWE superstar. And he then demanded a contract and a match with Ryback.
He becomes a general manager, right?
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Like that's after this year's WrestleMania.
It is a shocking mishandling of, and Ryback these days, bit of a laughing stock.
He wants to come back to WWE.
Yes, always.
He has said in an interview recently he wants to come back to WWE so long as they apologize. Which I'm sure it's next on the list of their to-do items.
Well, what other big returns are there? You dumb punk. It's just Big Hungry left.
Big Hungry left.
Can you imagine that? It's the night. It's the Raw after Mania.
Yeah.
Feed me more. Oh, it's Big Hungry, Big Hungry chance. But yeah, that's so that was October. Ryback wasn't dead in the water, but he was derailed because he'd lost a match, and the whole spectacle of him was that he hadn't lost a match.
Yeah, but
so he is, as we'll get onto it, he does get a big push in the Rumble.
They keep him as a top guy because he then has the match with The Shield. He tags with Team Hell No against The Shield at TLC, if I remember this correctly. Then he is like big feature.
That's a fun match.
He's a number 30 entrant in this year's Royal Rumble. He's getting all the big push.
Runner-up.
He then is again, he's the runner-up. He's then again tagging with John Cena and Sheamus to take on The Shield at Elimination Chamber. And then I would argue it goes downhill at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the first one was like, oh, there's no more road to go from here.
And before you know it, he's with Heyman, he's feuding with Punk.
Yeah.
He feels mid-card. But yeah, it's because WWE cannot book baby faces during this very lengthy period. May I remind you, Alberto Del Rio hit Santa with a car, and that was a babyface turn.
Well, he was sad about it. And we get a recap of the pre-show where Cesaro Antonio beat babyface Miz to retain the IC title.
Exclusively on YouTube.
Yeah. They will do the same match at WrestleMania. We won't get to see that one either. But yeah, this is babyface Miz, who is then going to get Ric Flair as his mentor and is going to learn the secrets of the Figure Four, which he still uses to this day.
He only knows a few moves.
As part of his babyface comeback. It's weird.
I hate it.
Yeah, no one asked for it, and no one wanted it.
Yeah. Which actually describes a lot of Vince McMahon WWE.
Up next for the Tag Team Championships, it is Team Rhodes Scholars taking on Team Hell No. Everything was a team at this point.
Yes, this was another thing of the time. You were team name. You weren't just Hell No. Team Hell No, I don't mind, but the Rhodes Scholars sounds way better than Team Rhodes Scholars.
It's a Twilight thing, right?
Oh, your Team Edward and
or
Team Jacob.
Was that like the originator of it?
Oh, I guess maybe it is.
Yeah.
Imagine if back in the day, Team Edge and Christian, Team Hardy Boys.
Team Dudley.
That's how dumb this is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. And actually, if you'd have done it with the Hardy Boys, they could have been Team Extreme.
But this is one of the big shining lights of this pay-per-view and this time period, because Daniel Bryan and Kane as Team Hell No with the Dr. Shelby anger management vignettes is one of the more fun things this company did.
they brought Dr. Shelby back because they were going to do the age. Who was doing the anger management thing? Was it Alexa?
Oh yeah, it was. It was Sasha.
It was Sasha and Bailey for the Boss and Hug connection, and we were like,
God.
"Oh, this will be great" because it worked so well for Team Hell No, and they never really.
Oh, that was a terribly executed story.
They just never did it properly.
Yeah.
But this was at the time really, really great. People were so into Team Hell No. They loved the yes, no side of things. I think they even did like their team name as a Twitter poll of like, what should we call ourselves? And I really did like, this was like my favorite version of Kane that wasn't best Kane in 2001 or corporate.
Yeah, because slacks. But it's not just the yes-no thing. They had real chemistry, and they had actual, like, for the tag division at the time, although the Rhodes Scholars were really good as well, really like a really good act. And that is, they are both incredibly angry guys, and they constantly blow up at each other. And the drama isn't just can they defeat their opponents, it's can they stay on the same page and beat their opponents.
And there's all sort of, this comes out from us doing Raw 1000. Charlie Sheen's not there for SummerSlam, so we kind of just put Kane in the place instead.
So, I mean, you're probably going to say, yeah, duh. But it was only watching this, and because we've done Raw 1000 very recently with the Charlie Sheen stuff where he's promoting anger management, I was like, oh, anger management. They go to anger management.
Yeah.
So was this meant to be Charlie Sheen's spot?
Don't know if this was supposed. Charlie Sheen was supposed to do a match. Was what they wanted to do was him and Bryan in a wrestling match. I don't know whether then the follow up to that would be that Charlie Sheen would be their anger management counselor. That would like make the most sense to to tie in with the anger management show. But there's no way that Charlie Sheen was ever going to do that. No. Which is why you end up with Dr. Shelby, which JBL likes to talk about.
Other idea. Charlie Sheen obviously turned them down for SummerSlam. Vince was petty, did his own anger management series of skits.
I like the way that you think. I think that's pretty good, I think the other thing about this is you're looking at two guys here, certainly in Daniel Bryan and Cody Rhodes, where this audience has been telling you, at least for 2 years now that we've been doing this little run with Cody Rhodes, push him. I think he should be one of your top guys.
And Damien Sandow.
Sandow, I think to a lesser degree.
But
he got over in his promos.
He gets over with everything he got in WWE.
I think he gets at his most over when he starts doing Mizdow. But like up until that point, I think certainly in my group, we looked at Damien Sandow as like, that is a potential top guy. Cody Rhodes was like, he should be. I always put over my cousin Wendy. She said he should have been WWE champion and said one day he will be. And I kept telling her, I don't think I'll ever pull the trigger on him.
So they were the Rhodes Scholars, which is a fantastic name because Damien Sandow was the intellectual savior of the masses. Mm-hmm. Cody Rhodes, his last name is Rhodes. Rhodes Scholars, writes itself. And I guess they're this sort of blue blood heel faction because Cody's got the family lineage. And he's got a mustache.
Yeah.
But it's weird because Cody Rhodes here feels like this pompous rich boy, but he's famously the son of a plumber.
the grandson of a plumber.
The grandson of a plumber.
He was the son of a famous wrestler.
Yeah. Who actually had lots of financial difficulties when raising Cody.
Cody's whole gimmick at this point is, I have a mustache.
It's working.
And it really, really worked. At WrestleMania 29, when we have a party at John's house, two of my friends show up dressed as the Rhodes Scholars because one of them had a beard and long hair, and the other one's like, I'm going to grow out a mustache just for WrestleMania 29 so I can be Team Rhodes Scholars.
The first chant in this match is Cody's mustache.
They are not into the look of Daniel Bryan, though. JBL and King love to talk about how much they do not like the way that Daniel Bryan looks and that he's a vegan.
Yeah. The commentators rarely talk about the match. They're mostly talking about vegans and vegetarians and sort of getting the two conflated. Yeah. And then they talk for a while about what is excluded from which dietary choice.
Oh, I've got that. Yeah, but before then, King is looking at Daniel Bryan because at this point, Bryan's growing out his hair And, that it will lead to him having the long hair that he has for WrestleMania 30 and the massive beard. But he's in that awkward phase of when you are growing your hair out and you can't cut it, where it's just a big mess of nothing. And King, with a lovely, timely reference, said that he looks like Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Oh, that's only 40 years old at this point.
And then JBL just keeps going on that Dr. Shelby is a quack and you can't trust Dr. Shelby. But then that leads to us getting to 41-46. Because really, you're right. Like when you said this match is more just about the comment. That is the state of Daniel Bryan at the moment.
The absolute state.
The absolute state of him.
Daniel Bryan working on the same page as tag team champ.
I love Sandal's colourful
tights.
tights.
Dysfunction. They've been tag team champions this entire time. Why do you call that dysfunctional? So they got a little problem.
So the crowd are chanting this.
That's what we do here. We got anger management problems. We stick them in the ring. You don't throw them some quack and sing kumbaya and sit around holding each other's hands. You got to hug like you two did on Monday Night Raw. That was disgusting.
So I think we might better get Dr. Shelby over on Friday Night SmackDown to talk to you and JBL, Cole.
I don't work on SmackDown, King.
Well, you have worked on SmackDown.
Oh, yeah, in the past.
You guys haven't gotten along since then.
It's King revealing that he does not watch the product.
It's three guys disinterested in what I'm watching, and they don't even know where they work. It's terrible. But this match is pretty good. It's basically a TV match that's made it onto pay-per-view.
Yes.
But the work rates back and forth. Brian and Cody are in the ring. I don't think they ever crossed paths in AEW, right?
No, that's because Cody was on Cody Island at that point, coined by Going in Raw. He very much, and I think, did you call it the Codyverse?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, because remember, Stephen Larson used to call it Cody Island, which is that some wrestlers would just leave AEW for a bit and travel to this one weird part of a company that doesn't interact with any other part of the company. And then that part of the company left.
Yeah, Ricky Starks, Texas King.
The other bit that we talk about here is that this is 2013. And what happened in 2013 is that people didn't really know what veganism was.
Credit for this, too. Perhaps. Daniel Bryan. Let it go. There goes Pedro. Goes. The flying goat vegan. Now goats do fly. I thought it was what I just said. I thought it was pigs that flew. So if you drink goat milk or eat goat cheese, are you still a vegan? You'd have to be.
You'd have to be.
To be fair, people still try and serve my partner fish.
Well, some vegetarians do eat fish.
Well, they're not vegetarians.
No.
They're pescatarians.
Pescatarians.
I had that once. Someone said that to me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm a vegetarian this year," and they so I just have a steak dinner every now and then. And I was like, "Well, then you're not a vegetarian." And they went, "Stop trying to gatekeep the word." This is serious. They said, "Stop trying to gatekeep the word vegetarian." I said, "Stop changing the meaning of words."
Very woke thing of you to say. I get that because I remember there was a period of time when I used to wind you up over and I used to needle you because I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like 80% I'm 80% vegan," and you're like, "So you're not vegan then?" I was like, "No, I'm 80% vegan."
I feel like it's a binary choice with these things. You can't be a grey area. You were just a vegetarian.
No, I was eating meat.
Oh right. Oh, well, that's even worse.
I was eating meat.
Stop it. Look.
It was 80%. I was eating vegan 80% of the time. So I was an 80% vegan.
I just think everyone should stay in their lane, right? Is that...
Why are you trying to gatekeep these things?
Is it can't we just go back to the pre-internet days when everyone knew what they were? I'm a grunger. I'm a hip-hop guy. I'm a jock. None of this stuff where people cross-pollinate interests. I hate it.
Yeah, why have growth? The heels work over Bryan. The commentators talk about mustaches. JBL, they're trying to work out what the mustache looks like. And one of them says, "Oh, he looks like Tom Selleck." And Michael Cole was like, "Nice topical reference point there." And then JBL says, "Yeah, he looks like Ron Burgundy." And JBL's like, and Cole goes, Well, at least he's got a new movie coming out, so that's probably more topical at this point.
Again, a match is going on, right? This is a tag team match. It's about 8 minutes long. They never talk about the action.
No. Well, the one bit they do talk about, though, is when Sandow does a bad swinging net breaker, so they have to do the didn't get all of it. Brian blind tags in, chokeslam to Cody, yes lock to Sandow, champs retain.
Really fun stuff. And when Brian drags Sandow into that yes lock, huge pop. And I love it when submissions get huge pops, because it brings me back to my childhood when the walls are going in or the crossface is in. And
the ankle lock.
Like, they're just as impactful pop-wise as the big finishing move. But there's more drama to them, because you get the big pop and then people are just tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, the yes lock is over to a point now, with Brian being over, with Team Hell No, where it's in that register.
So what you're saying is that you agree that WrestleMania 28 was a smashing success and the plan worked?
In spite of their plan.
Should say as well, from those Dr. Shelby things, it has got one of my favorite Kane moments ever, which is when he tells the Kane backstory as part of a group therapy session. It's so good. Dave Meltzer would say of this match, however, 2.25 stars. And Vinny V would say, this was not much of a match. I have no idea where the tag champs go from here. 1.75.
Well, I think that's unfair. But yeah, it's a TV match.
It's a TV match. It's there to bring the crowd down because you've just had the fun World Heavyweight Championship match. And coming up next is the bloody Royal Rumble. So this may as well have been Caitlyn versus Tamina Snuka.
Which all 4 of these guys are in.
Yeah. Well, you haven't got
Rumble.
You haven't got the roster to bring out other people. But before then, it's all about the numbers. I want to highlight this one because Raven makes it into the video every single year because he was eliminated by Kane in 2001.
This is a by the numbers video package. Listen to the opening of the voiceover. It's anticipation of the amazing, unvarying in unpredictability, and the epitome of excitement.
That is Vince McMahon verbiage right there.
Vince would just... I hate the way he writes copy, essentially. Unvarying in unpredictability.
It's what everyone says.
He just has a thesaurus.
It's what
just
everyone says about the Royal Rumble.
I hate it. But yeah, I've got all the stats if you want them.
Oh, wow, you wrote down every single one.
I'm sad. 36 Hall of Famers have been in the Rumble. This is, of course, by this point. 724 entrants so far. Shawn Michaels has eliminated the most at 39. Then it's Kane at 35. A record of 11 from Kane in 2001, famously.
Yeah.
201,497 pounds is the total weight of all participants.
Did they do the how many big shows that is?
They did.
Yes!
It's 457 big shows.
It's the best bit about it. It's like Taskmaster. Is that when Alex Horn gives his things, I'm like, I don't know what that is. Can you give it to me in possums?
And we get another Vince McMahon quote here. That is the astronomical mass of humanity.
Ass is right.
440,004 is the attendance figure for all the Rumbles. So we've had...
Which I'm sure is accurate.
Let's just disregard the weight and the attendance figures there. 62 minutes, 12 seconds.
Is Rey Mysterio.
Longest Rumble appearance.
At this point.
3 Stone Cold victories is the most.
Yep.
Winners. 2 seconds for 20 long years was the Warlord's record.
For 20 long years, the Warlord held the record for the shortest time. That was until 2009, when Santino Marella lasted just 1 second. I wasn't ready. Can you tell that they did this every single year with the same copy? I'm pretty sure it was just the same voiceover.
Yeah, just copy that bit into the new Adobe Premiere file. Probably Final Cut back then.
Avid.
Number 1 and 30 have produced the same number of winners. 27 is the luckiest.
I think that doesn't hold anymore.
No,
27 is like
it's
lucky
no
number
longer
27.
the luckiest. No, but
I think 30 is actually the lucky number.
But when 27 comes out, still to this day, because it's been drilled into,
I know.
I'm like, maybe Heath Slater's got a chance.
It's because you and I. Because you and I are of that era where lucky number 27 was really drilled into you. So every single person that came out at 27 was like, they were told they got lucky number 27. That just has not been a thing. I think the last time someone won from 27 was something like 2001. It's been a long time.
And 58% of winners have gone on to win at Mania, which is not that impressive, actually. You basically get a 50-50 chance.
This is like when they said Liv Morgan's been in 6 elimination chambers and has won none of them.
Yeah.
That's not an impressive stat, then.
What I really like, though, I wish they did this more for all of the numbers. But backstage, after this, we get Vicky Guerrero coming up to Kane and Bryan, who are celebrating. They're in a good part of their relationship. They've won a match. And she gives them, here's your Rumble entry numbers. And Bryan looks at his, and Kane looks at his. And Bryan goes, oh, look what I've got. And Kane goes, oh, that's good. And Bryan's like, aren't you going to show me yours? It's the rules. I show you mine, you show me yours. It's a penis joke.
It's a penis joke that I think they have done about 20 different times at the Royal Rumble, because they did it with the APA.
Oh, okay.
In during the Attitude Era. I think they've done it with DX as well, because it's an easy joke to make.
But it's funny. It's really funny done, particularly with their relationship. And Kane's like, trust me, you would feel very inadequate if I showed you mine. It's actually a bad strategy to reveal your number. See you in the match, partner. And Bryan's like, not if I see you first. And Kane goes, that's highly unlikely based on your number. It's a good setup for Bryan coming out at like number 3 or 4. But I think he comes out quite late.
He comes out at 21 and Kane comes in at 24.
Mm.
They are... I don't know why Kane's reaction to that was like, you're so far away from my number. It's almost the same number.
Yeah, it's like they just did this separate to the booking of the match.
Yeah.
Can we just check that Kane's coming in after Bryan? Good. We'll do this thing we had in our heads.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have worked a lot better if Kane comes out at number 29. Bryan's been in there from number 6, and Bryan can go, what the hell? But you don't get that in the match. Really fun segment, though.
One of the things you've been talking a lot about on the podcast recently, and a few people are picking you up on, is this idea that you have been asking for years for logical and consistent booking. And now that Triple H is giving it to you,
want it.
What you actually crave is chaos booking of Vince McMahon.
No, I want 80%, maybe 75% Triple H booking, 25% chaos.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really missing from the Triple H era, and I'm glad that they're gone, because there was always this thing was like, why is the camera there? Why are heels just revealing their plans? You got stupid backstage segments like watching FTR shave their backs and this, that, and the other. So we've gone away from all of that. But because of that, and because this is a super serious company now, you don't have the tombola anymore of wrestlers going up and getting what their number is, and seeing weird interactions between wrestlers, because everyone's super serious now. And I do miss that element of the Rumble somewhat. But I suppose you've got to get adverts in for Dude Wipes and Hard Mike's Lemonade.
But the tombola could be sponsored by Prime.
By Tombola.
Yeah.
By Tombola Bingo.
Yeah, exactly. Because now the Rumble's got that really cool graphics presentation with all the stats. It is undermined by a little bit of bingo backstage.
Actually, if you've done it by Prime, it could be a big Prime bottle.
Like balls just come out the Prime bottle?
No, so you do it as a big plastic Prime bottle that you spin round, and then the Prime logo opens up and you pick out your number.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, do it like that.
Yeah. I don't see why it's a bad idea. We then get Royal Rumble Fest. This was apparently a massive success for them. This is I think this is the first one they've ever done, like a fan access for the Royal Rumble. The idea being they're going to do them for Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam, because it's a way to make extra money by selling your fans an extra ticket for something and then sending more merchandise on top of it. But at that, we also got an NXT tournament to get a shot in the Rumble, which was won by Bo Dallas. Have you got the tournament?
I do. I've got the screenshot of the tournament.
I've got it as well. Yeah, so Adrian Neville beat Corey Graves.
Yeah.
Leo Kruger defeated Xavier Woods.
Leo Kruger, of course, Adam Rose would become.
Bo Dallas defeated Luke Harper. Connor O'Brien defeated Oliver Gray. Connor O'Brien would become Connor of the Ascension. Every time I see Connor O'Brien, you just think of monorail.
Monorail. Oh, what? Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. Then Leo Kruger defeated Adrian Neville. Adrian Neville, by the way, is Pac.
Aren't we going to talk about Oliver Gray?
Please go ahead.
Well, it's Joel Redman from Britain. Fixture of the British wrestling scene through the noughties. Joel Redman, he's massive.
I'm not sure I know the name, actually.
Yeah, so I was like, Oliver Gray? Who's Oliver Gray? And I Googled it. It's Joel Redman. I was like, oh my God, I've seen him on like 100 shows.
That's so weird, because I clicked onto it and it's a Joel. I was like, I don't recognize that person at all. I didn't realize he was a fixture. Was he like a Progress guy?
No, before then, I think. Yeah, he just like wrestled everywhere.
Like an FWA era?
No, maybe not FWA.
Okay. That might be why I didn't see anything. Because I did a lot of FWA shows.
But then it says he was an inaugural tag team champion with Neville.
I forget that. That's always going to be one of the NXT tag champions I'll never remember. So I know that Pac wins it with someone, and I never remember who it is.
The first ones.
Yeah, because there's a Corey Graves one in there, and I can never remember his partner either.
And their name, Oliver Gray and Adrian Neville. First off, the lamest sounding tag team you've ever heard. Let's make it a little bit lamer. British Ambition.
Well, British Invasion was taken by in TNA.
Ambition.
Yeah, British Ambition.
Ambition. It's like an apprentice team.
I was watching, I was a bit drunk the other night, and I was just scrolling YouTube, and it came up with an old episode of Harry Hill's TV Best Bits, and I was like, I'm going to watch that. And they had a clip on there of The Apprentice of them trying to come up with team names. And one of them goes like, I've got a team name, the A-Team. Like, no, it's not really good. And then they show, and he's like, I've got another option, the Winners.
Route 1. So Bo Dallas won.
Yes, so Leo Kruger defeated Adrian Neville, Bo Dallas defeated Conan O'Brien, and then Bo Dallas defeated Leo Kruger in the final. Also there, they did podcasts before podcasts were a thing. Basically, they were trying to do the shoot interviews, but a WWE sanitized version of shoot interviews. So DX did one, and Brett and Sean appeared on stage together. Be a star and make a wish and all this sort of stuff.
That wasn't a podcast.
No.
That's just other stuff they did.
Yeah, they do the stuff that you see at the WrestleMania where, kids read books. And it's like,
with Alicia Fox.
Yeah, and you win prizes for reading. I think it's such a great thing that WWE get involved with getting kids reading. It's blood. We don't get this anymore either. This is the stuff that Stephanie McMahon used to really hold up high as like what WWE do. But we don't get these video packages anymore.
Well, I think it's because maybe they're not overcompensating as much for the awful culture they had inside the company.
Maybe.
By the way, the panel, the sort of live stage shows with Sean and Brett and Triple H and Sean, was called Shooting Straight.
Not straight shooting.
Shooting straight. So they were leaning into the shoot interview thing, definitely. But yeah, it's actually the genesis of a really, really successful business model for them.
Yeah.
Because they would load up these big 4 weekends as destination events. Then a couple of years later, they'd attach takeovers. It would be SmackDown, TakeOver, pay-per-view, Raw, all in the same city with events all around it. And it's going stronger and stronger.
Really, really good. And very smart. And it's great for fans as well because you're then going for SummerSlam weekend or WrestleMania weekend, Royal Rumble weekend. And particularly as now we're moving into these 2 nights. We've got a 2-night SummerSlam coming up this year. Rumble is probably going to be going to 2 nights at some point soon if this business model works. WrestleMania already is. And it makes you kind of want to go. I think the video packages are very well put together.
Doesn't make me want to go.
No, I kind of do. Because I've never been to a WrestleMania though.
Yeah, I want to go to a WrestleMania, but
I want to go.
I prefer it wasn't 2 nights.
Maybe you're right as well, because I did think at the end of All In, I remember sitting down for that 12-man tag that starts All In, the pre-show, and I was like, I've had my fill of wrestling now.
Whitney, did you see a 2-night Mania?
Yeah, 39, the Hollywood one.
What's it like?
It's really good.
Both nights. You wake up on the Sunday and you're like, oh yay, another one.
The first night is more exciting, but we were further away on the second night. We were like way up higher.
Well, the first night of 39 was excellent.
Yeah.
That was the tag match main event. And the second night was, not as good by comparison.
The Vince night.
Yeah.
Well, the second night had Shane hurting himself.
Yeah,
It was fantastic.
My favorite thing of this is WWE looking at this quite burgeoning and still very popular. It's not even burgeoning because it's massive at this point. The shoot interview market, which was fired wrestlers from WWE going on shoot interviews and talking about how bad WWE is. So they've gone like, well, we'll just do it ourselves with talent that we can, and they'll just say what we tell them to say, and they can do our version of wrestling history.
We'll do a news show that mostly just talks about kayfabe events. That's what people want, right? Because they're watching WWE News.
Yeah. It's time for the Royal Rumble, and man, does it feel weird that it's like this early in the night.
I know. I remember when it started. Of course, Rock Punk was going to go on last, but yeah, it is strange.
It was also because I was expecting another match. Like, this is a 4-match card. This is a Triple H 4-match card.
Yeah, but it's a 2-hour, 50-minute show. That's the difference.
So number 1 is Dolph Ziggler, and at number 2, it is a returning Chris Jericho, who is in full Gordon Ramsay phase. Chris Jericho.
This is the coolest thing. This is one of my all-time favorite Rumble memories. I said it earlier. I'm in the pub. Jericho's music hits. I love Ziggler. They were in a feud.
Yeah.
That we saw them sort of tagging together. How will they coexist at Raw 1000?
He cost Jericho his job. The reason why Jericho's been gone for so long is that Jericho beat Dolph at SummerSlam, and then the next night, I think it's the next night, Dolph challenges to a rematch with his career on that. His contract is on the line.
And this is classic wrestling psychology. Dolph's out first. He gets the microphone and he starts getting the heel heat. I'm the best in the world. No one can beat me. I don't care who's at number 2, so send them out already. You know, this is why the heels should enter first, really, if to just a cold crowd, so they can heat them up with the boos, and then when the babyface music hits, people naturally cheer. So when Jericho comes out, it's one of my favorite 1-2 punches of all time.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It's really, really great. Yeah, Jericho has been gone for about 5 months because we talked about earlier, he was touring with Fozzy, who remarkably are still a thing. All these years later are still touring and people go to see them.
Well, people also leave to see them. Like we always manage to skip them in the AEW shows.
At All In last year, it was the match preceding Jericho's match. I could see up on the stage, they were setting up a drum kit, and I was like, oh, Jericho's up next. That means Fozzy going to do a set. I'm going to do my loo break then. So and I was like, I'm going now because I don't want to watch Fozzy. They released a video recently, not like they released a video, but a video went online of the latest Jericho cruise where, Fozzy always play. Jericho is not a strong singer.
No. He's not a shouter. He's like a bit like me.
He's not a good singer. And he's not and I don't think he's got the full charisma that he thinks he has to be like a rock and roll frontman. And he did a cover of Jonah Jett's I Hate Myself for Loving You and had the temerity to bring up Harley Cameron to do a duet with. Do you know how
really sing? Do
you know how good of a singer Harley Cameron is? And Chris Jericho's like, we're the same.
Yeah,
we're just as good as each other.
The crowd, bear in mind, Jericho was a great return, but he was only there 5 months ago. They chant, "You still got it."
Jericho was furious about this on his podcast. Was
he really?
Furious about this. Yeah.
I don't remember.
He was furious about this because I'm pretty sure Talk is Jericho is a thing at this point.
Oh, I think it's a bit early. I don't think Stone Cold's launched his podcast yet.
I might got my timeline wrong.
Yeah, I think
there's a period of time.
He might have covered it later on.
No, I'm pretty.
But I remember where I was when the Stone Cold podcast first got announced.
Where were
I was like, yes!
Let's see, I'm
pretty sure I was in the lad pad in the front room.
Talk is... I spelled Jericho wrong.
I might be totally wrong, though.
Talk is Jericho. Crikey.
Don't scroll back through the episodes. Some dark things there.
Yeah. I think coronavirus is made up.
What about the Mandela effect?
2013.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Yeah, Talk is Jericho. He started in 2013, but he might have I haven't got the first episode. Let's try that one.
Maybe I'm way off as well then on Stone Cold's podcast.
I thought his podcast was out at this point. But maybe JR might have had his
2014. Oh, no, it's the WWE Network one.
Grilling JR. Oh, 4th of December 2013. So it is a little bit off. It's later on this year. So I have got my timeline wrong here. But there is a period of time where Jericho does talk about the "You Still Got It" chant, and he was furious about it because he was like, I've not been away for very long, and it never left me. I think it's really disrespectful to chant "You Still Got It" at a wrestler who does wrestle quite regularly.
Yeah. Because he's still going now.
He shouts at the audience, "I've still got it." He's like, what does he say? He yells, "Never lost it, baby." At number 3, it's Cody Rhodes.
So all of the people now, Dolph Ziggler, Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, they've all gone by now.
Oh, yeah.
Some have come back, of course.
So this is the thing I was alluding to earlier when they were talking about, this boner they've got for legends. Michael Cole has got a shtick during this Rumble that's clearly fed to him by Vince McMahon, which is he has got famous quotes by WWE legends about the Royal Rumble. And so every now and again, he'll be like, oh, it's like Bret Hart once said about the Royal Rumble. Oh, it's like Shawn Michaels. But no one's like, it's not in casual conversation. He just drops it.
Yeah.
And so during this, he says like, Shawn Michaels once said about the Royal Rumble, you'll find these strange alliances between wrestlers. And, they sort of talk about that. And he's like, well, it's like Bret Hart once said, and this is a direct quote, each entrant changes the entire complexity of the event.
Oh yeah, I can hear Brett saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Bret Hart we saw earlier in the night, you can just imagine him, Michael Cole, being like, "What do you think of the Royal Rumble?" He's like, "Well, each entrant changes the entire complexity of the event."
Complexity is a Vince word.
So there's more of those to come. We've got more wisdom from the legends coming up later. In at number 4 is Kofi Kingston, who gets pyro.
Yeah, he won a Slammy Award for his Rumble escape last year.
Yeah, well, John Morrison's gone now.
Cody and Ziggler were beating up Jericho. Kofi's sort of the babyface save for that. Number 5, Santino comes out. He doesn't get eliminated really quickly this time. He tries to eliminate everyone, but they all stay in. He gets the Cobra, but then he hits one on Kofi, but everyone else throws him out.
I believe in the last episode I said I got the origins of the Cobra incorrect, and someone corrected me about it. I just want to add, I don't care. Number 6 is Drew McIntyre.
He's I know Cody started his own company, but I feel like Drew's come the furthest. So, if you know where Cody is in this match and where Drew is.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 2 Cody matches for WrestleMania when we've done our coverage of. You had the Big Show match, and I feel like he has always been quite featured on the shows, but Drew was just in Team Teddy and Team Johnny. He was just a nobody lad, and here he is, 3MB Drew. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's had the best glow up of the two.
Yeah. He is in free fall before them. Speaking of falling, so Titus O'Neil of the Primetime Players is out at number 7.
Before we get to Titus O'Neil, if I can actually, at this period of time, just before Titus O'Neil comes out, in the ring at this very moment is the current WWE champion, the former TNA champion, newly healed Kofi Kingston, WWE's best character Drew McIntyre, and AEW's worst character in Chris Jericho. It's a weird little moment, and you're every single one of those is in a completely different position as to what they're in now.
As they should be. It's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So Titus O'Neil rumbles. We know the famous one. He once slipped over, and he comes out at number 7. He nearly stumbles over. So here he comes. Runs. Oh! And you hear Lawler go, whoa. The signs were there all along.
It's almost like he's a little bit clunky in the ring. Do you remember he was brought out to do commentary for Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus at WrestleMania? Because if there's one guy that knows a lot about that side of wrestling and the Intercontinental Championship, it's Titus O'Neil.
I don't remember that. Yeah. That's one of the best matches of the year.
I know. And I don't think Titus really knows what to make of it. Hey, here's a bit of word of wisdom for you. Harley Race once said, you get in there and you go. There's no strategy.
Jericho drop kicks McIntyre out. Goldust is at number 8. He's a surprise entrant.
Cole has some dreadful acting here because, this is a surprise entrant, but he's also got a bunch of facts. So he then says, as Goldust comes out, he's like, I'm going to have to check my record books here. So he can then drop in that this is his 8th Royal Rumble.
It's a huge reaction for Goldust.
It's great.
He had only left WWE in May.
Had he really?
Yeah, apparently. So he was only gone for 8 months.
I would have thought he was in TNA as Black Rain. But man, you want to talk about the difference between Black Rain and how he looks here. It looks incredible at this point.
Apparently on Twitter, he'd been criticizing his brother's actions teaming with Damien. So they go right at it right away. Yeah. And to be honest, you've got the Jericho-Ziggler eternal feud throughout the match because they enter at number 1 and 2. But the Cody and Goldust brawling is really intense.
Awesome.
It's really good. The crowd are super into it because they like Cody. They love Goldust from back in the day. And then, I think Goldust gets thrown out eventually. But
Yeah, he's out fairly quickly.
those are really the only stories here.
Oh, so here's my overall take of this Royal Rumble. It's a fun Rumble in the sense of it's a Royal Rumble and they're fun. But it's a nothing happening Royal Rumble.
It's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I guess if you want to go that way. Because like this Royal Rumble is just here for John Cena to win. They don't do a lot of other things in this round. And like Dolph lasts for ages. But like a lot of things with Dolph, nothing ever comes off the back of it. He's the sole survivor at Survivor Series 2014. Nothing comes off the back of it. He's the longest guy in this match. Nothing comes off the back of it. It's just a bunch of stuff happening. And really, when you look at this list, it is a who's who of who cares. Because like at number 9 is David Otunga,
who comes out to an anti-pop. There is negative noise when he comes out.
And then after that's Heath Slater at number 10. And it's just like, it's nobody, and a bunch of guys who are stuck in the mid-card.
When Heath Slater comes out, I can't remember how Jerry Lawler got onto it. Of course, he's not talking about the actual match. He's talking about AJ Lee. He said her pet name is Napkin because she's been on so many men's laps.
Man.
Can take the Lawler out of the Attitude Era.
During all of this as well, like Heath Slater comes out and Cole says that Heath Slater has tweeted today that this year's Royal Rumble is going to be a 30-man mosh pit.
Whoa.
And JBL is incredulous that Cole is following Heath Slater on Twitter. It's like, you follow him on Twitter?
Sheamus is at number 11. He got a pop. He won last year's Rumble. That's what ended Daniel Bryan's reign in the squash match.
Yeah.
He's trying to be the first person to win back-to-back Rumbles, and he gets rid of O'Neal and Otunga with the old clubs to the chest on the apron.
I would say he's the first person that comes into this match that feels like a star since number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, and it's also Sheamus in 2013, who does not feel like a star.
No. And we also get another example here of dreadful Kevin Dunnery.
Not the Dunnery.
Yeah, so a little bit of Dunnery here.
Oh, with the chops.
Just remember, everyone, if you weren't watching this time, we put up with this for another decade.
So yeah, the camera is zooming in and out and shaking from side to side of Sheamus's clubs to the chest on Otunga. Horrible.
Horrendous.
I feel ill.
Yeah, and we just, after a while, was like, yeah, it's bad camera work.
I guess that's how it is.
Yeah. We just never, I don't know why we didn't get more mad about it. Maybe we all just had our...
We did.
We did. And then we all just were like, oh, I guess nothing's going to change. Some things never change.
I was always mad about 3-hour Raws. But I just became white noise.
Well, Sheamus.
Yep.
In at number 12. I didn't think we'd get to talk about him on this series because his push is basically over already. It's Lord Tensai.
Lord Tensai is, of course, Albert of Test and Albert of TNA.
Yeah.
Trish Stratus was the most successful thing coming out of... Oh, sorry, and the Punisher...
No. I think you'll find that he's most famous for being with the big boss man. As Prince Albert.
So Albert left WWE. He went to New Japan. All Japan? He went to A Japan.
No, he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling and was one half of the New Japan Tag Team Champions and ended up being one of the top gaijins of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
As Giant Bernard.
Bernard.
Which is a dog. But he was getting these sort of reviews that Doc Gallows was getting.
Yeah, he was so over and was pushed so well. To the point where I remember that like on the message boards being like, have you heard that Albert's awesome now? Like now that he's gone to New Japan, he's really, really great. And Dave Meltzer used to talk about like Bernard matches and stuff and how like it's such what a change. And I remember being really excited for him to come back to WWE because I'm like, oh, bring him in, give him a really big push because he's made a massive name for himself out in Japan. And they do give him quite a big push coming into the company.
He debuts on the post-WrestleMania Raw in the main event where he wipes out John Cena. Oh my God, John Cena, what a terrible year. You've just lost to The Rock. And now this evil... is he a foreign? He looks... I know that's Albert. He's definitely American. but I guess he's a foreigner. How will John Cena beat this evil foreigner
So
person?
he debuts and he beats Alex Riley by referee's decision. He then beats Yoshi Tatsu by referee's decision. Then at Extreme Rules, he beats John Cena.
Whoa.
At Extreme Rules.
Brock Lesnar couldn't beat.
Oh, no, sorry. No. On Monday Night Raw,
Yes.
in an Extreme Rules match, he
makes
beats
sense.
John Cena. That makes sense, because I was about to say that can't be right, because John Cena beats Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules. In an Extreme Rules match, Lord Tensai beats John Cena. He then beats R-Truth. He then teams with Daniel Bryan to beat the WWE champion CM Punk. He then loses to John Cena. And then
Vince loses interest.
And then he loses to Sheamus. And then he teamed with the Big Show to lose in a 2-on-1 handicap match against John Cena. And then Tyson Kidd beats Tensai in 19 seconds.
Tyson Kidd.
That is in the span of 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. So obviously, he was just brought in for a 2-month thing, build him up, feed him to Cena. That's what they did all the time with them. Probably to build up Cena for the Lesnar match, maybe. Or for whatever, to build up Cena for whatever he was doing
I was going
at
to say,
the time.
Because, he lost to Cena in the build-up to that match.
Because, they completely lose interest in him. And by mid-December, he's a comedy act.
Yeah.
And Santino is calling him Fat Albert. And you know what happens the day after this Rumble? Tensai is tricked into wearing lingerie while participating in a dance-off with Brodus Clay. This would lead to the Tons of Funk tag team of Clay and Tensai.
I think it's in... Because they're on the pre-show for Elimination Chamber 2013, so we won't get to talk about them tagging together, I don't think. But I think in the build-up to that is when he reveals... Because he's got Japanese characters like all down his face as a tattoo. And he's like, I don't even know what these mean. I think it's for sushi.
Just remember, Lord Tensai was debuted as this kind of really serious, credible threat.
They used the WWE champion CM Punk to put over and establish Lord Tensai just so John Cena can beat him clean.
And they don't care about him 8 months later. And he's wearing lingerie on Raw.
Punk doesn't get his big wig back.
And that's why this company was crap.
Yeah. But hey, WWE legends are watching, and I've got some thoughts on the Royal Rumble because Jake Roberts once said, quote, "When the ring fills up with superstars, it gets so dangerous. There's so many people in such a short space, there's nowhere to hide."
Oh yeah, Jake the Snake definitely says superstars. Just on one last thing on Tensai, it had a happy ending because he would become NXT trainer Matt Bloom.
Yeah.
And he is very well respected there.
Still there to this day. In at number 13 is Brodus Clay, his future tag team partner. Cody and Goldust brawl to the apron, and Cody eliminates Goldust.
Yeah. But so Tensai and Brodus Clay have this sort of big hoss fight thing. Back then, like if this was now, we'd love that because we love meat. But back then, it was just like, oh, God, it's more big, sweaty men working the boring, big, sweaty men style.
Yeah. In at number 14 is Rey Mysterio, who does a pair of 619s to Jericho and Dolph. And then here's some hot action. At number 15, it's Darren Young.
Ooh, we're in the midpoint.
Brodus is eliminated by everyone, and Kofi eliminates Tensai. And this leads to, I would say, Kofi's most memorable of his wacky get back in spots, because Kofi is out and he lands on Tensai's back, and Tensai dumps him onto the announcer's table. So now Kofi is stuck and he can't make the jump from the announcer's table back to the ring. So he gets JBL to give him his chair, and he pogo sticks his way back to the ring.
Very fun stuff.
It's very fun. Because of that, we actually missed number 16, Bo Dallas.
Yes, yeah. Nobody cares. But I don't know why this annoyed me so much. When Kofi is stranded on the announcer's desk, Michael Cole's line is, direct quote, "Is he going to do what they do in Star Trek? Teleport?"
I mean, they do teleport.
They do teleport.
That's beam me up, Scotty. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
That famous line from every episode of Star Trek.
Is that because they never say?
Because they never say it.
got me.
Is it because he referenced Star Trek and that's quite special to you?
Maybe it's because it's a Star Trek thing.
And,
And
like-
I don't like it being used flippantly.
And you don't want 2013 Michael Cole talking about like what you want.
He's not talking about Next Gen. He's talking about the original Star Trek series from the 60s.
It's TOS.
Yeah.
He's 100% talking TOS. I remember when AEW started doing Unrestricted podcast, and they had an episode early doors with Cody Rhodes, and the opening like 15 minutes is Cody Rhodes and Tony Schiavone just talking about their favorite series of Star Trek. And I messaged you, be like, you might want to listen to this week's Unrestricted. Yeah, so Kofi actually has done interviews about this, and he said that one of the people that used to come up with these ideas was Hornswoggle. He would say, like, usually the night before the Rumble or 2 nights before the Rumble, they'd be in a hotel, and Hornswoggle would come up with an idea and be like, do you think you could do it?
I think Hornswoggle's obviously got a really good mind for spots sometimes.
Yeah.
But he was just booked as this comedy nothing thing in WWE.
So I've got this quote from Kofi here. He said, Hornswoggle said, what are you going to do? You don't have anything to do. Why don't you get a pogo stick and then you can jump? And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. So I was in the hotel room. I actually got out of the bed, got onto a chair and started hopping with them. I'm going to do this in the Rumble. And now you thought was a joke. It's going to be a thing.
Oh, Hornswoggle just meant it as a joke.
Hornswoggle used to like neg him on it, basically. It was like, what are you going to do? You got nothing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to get a pogo stick, are you? Are you?
What annoys me, it's a great spot. It's an all-time Rumble moment. And Kofi hops over and he gets on the ring apron. Immediately, you should be rolling under the bottom rope.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He drops the top rope so Darren Young falls over it. Elimination. Okay, all right, you've got that. You've just got... But now get the hell under the top rope and get in the ring. But he doesn't. He just walks along the apron. Cody drop kicks him off.
I think it was David Otunga eliminated, not Darren Young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
to your point. And at number 17, it's The Godfather, because it's in Vegas and he's only down the road, so it's quite easy for Charles to get to the arena. And he is immediately eliminated while his music is still playing, and he's just like, all right. And he dances back with the girls, and JBL and King are sad.
it's a fun legend spot.
Yeah.
These are not the hoes of the Attitude.
No, they're not. No, these are nice young ladies.
These are smartly dressed women.
These are PG era hoes.
Yeah, these are escorts.
In at number 18 is Wade Barrett. I've made this point before on Rest Talk Extra shows, but when I'm making my notes, I'll write down the number and then I'll just do a little thing of like what they did or anything interesting that someone might have said. In at number 19 is John Cena.
He black hole slams Sheamus.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, nowadays, Wade, Sheamus, Drew, they've got their little
British connection.
British
Although
ambition.
Sheamus is not British. He's Irish. So yeah, John Cena comes in at 19.
He's in black because he's having such a bad year. And all the heels line up because the only bad guys don't like Cena. And he counts them from up on the stage. He's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, here we go. And he runs down and he beats them all up. Heath Slater gone. Cody, one of the only people were interested in, gone. And the crowd start to boo him. And you know what he does for the rest of the match? He sleeps.
He does fuck all for the rest of the match.
He goes, oh, I've been hit in the face once. I will now lay down in the corner like I'm unconscious. I hate John Cena. I hate his wrestling style. I must say the character, I hate the character of John Cena. I hate his wrestling style. And I hate how the company convulsed itself to do everything to serve him and no one else. We just talked about Tensai and how all of that, but Tensai has to beat Punk to make Tensai look strong, to make Cena look strong.
If I may also just correct myself, you were right. Kofi Kingston eliminated Darren Young. I should have known that because on the laptop screen at the moment is Sheamus eliminating David Otunga. Yes, you're absolutely right because this is a lot of people. I'm sure there are kids who are now adults who are listening to this being like, no, I loved John Cena and he was the best and he was my childhood. As someone in 2013, I am 27 years old. not a John Cena fan. I was the booing John Cena and was just, it's the same thing every single week and every single match. And you have to listen to JBL and Michael Cole. Big match, John. He's the guy that always brings it in the main event. And I never, ever saw it until he wins the United States Championship and then has the really good US title run. And that is only a couple of months, because he loses it to Seth at SummerSlam. And then it's back to pretty much boring scenery again until he starts working with AJ Styles. And gee, I wonder why those were good matches.
Because they ruined finishes. Like, even then, it's like, oh yeah, but John Cena actually ruined finishes in big main event matches.
Have you
to serve Cena.
Have you seen anything from the Chris Van Vliet interview that he did with AJ Styles? AJ Styles said apparently that Vince didn't like his Rumble debut or didn't like his Raw match. And apparently Vince said to him, I've got 1,000 guys just like you. What makes you different? And it's like, you've got 1,000 guys like AJ Styles, have you? One of the best wrestlers on the planet. Where are they then? Anyway, Damien Sandow comes in at number 20. Ray is eliminated by Wade Barrett. And the crowd pops huge for Jericho putting John Cena in the walls of Jericho. But man, because John Cena is just this big... I mean, I can't call him a big tub of goo because that would have elasticity to it. Because John Cena is an action figure with very few articulate parts.
He just bends at the waist.
Yeah. He has got very few points of articulation. Jericho cannot put the walls of Jericho on him, so he just falls down.
And the problem is the crowd are no longer really watching the match. They're doing, let's go Cena, Cena sucks, booing Cena. It ruins the product. It ruins the creative story they're trying to tell.
You say that they're doing that. That is until at number 21, Daniel Bryan comes out, and the yes chants are so loud. And this crowd here in Vegas use Bryan coming in as a way to convey to WWE, yes, and Cena sucks. There's no let's go Cena chants in this bit. It is just yes, and Cena sucks. We want this guy, not this guy.
Yeah.
In at number 22, it's Antonio Cesaro. Hillbilly Jim once said, Royal Rumble, you hooked me.
Oh, okay. Was that just like a love letter to the Rumble?
I guess so. And that's what Hillbilly
Not really
Jim
an insight,
once said about the Royal Rumble. In at number 23 is the Great Khali.
Everything looks awful. You know what I said about John Cena? He's a better wrestler, but only just than Great Khali.
However, what we get in here is some really, really bad commentary from... So what I want you to listen out for here is JBL realize he's just got something wrong and someone has pointed that out to him, and he reacts to that realization quite poorly.
Yes.
Dating the Punjabi princess. Yeah, that Natty Hart.
Should start as well. The story at this point here is that he is dating Natalia. He's dating
Khali is, yes.
Yeah, Khali is dating Natty Neidhart.
Tom right now as Khali unloads on the superstars in the ring. Dating the Punjabi princess. Yeah, that Natty Hart. Natalia. Natty Hart. What do you call her Natty? Natalia Neidhart. They call her Natty, but she's not a heart. You call her Natty Hart. Sheamus just ellipsed 20 minutes, like 20 minutes in the ring here tonight at the Royal Rumble. I'm upset about this interspecies relationship. Sheamus may not make 21 as Cesaro looks to eliminate. Sheamus, you've never dated outside your species. Did you just call it an interspecies relationship? Yes. What is wrong with you? You had Anvil's daughter and the Punjabi guy here. He's the...
Dig up, stupid. He just gets caught out, and then it's like, it's an interspecies relationship. And I'm really upset about that.
I always try and be generous but what? what's he? He's not saying what?
I think he is. He's trying to say that the Great Khali is an animal. Because he's so tall and foreign, I guess. And he's really upset that this poor white girl is stuck in this interspecies relationship.
That's unfortunately how I read it. It's not like Daniel Bryan, where, because you could say they're always calling him a goat.
Yeah. I mean, the other way...
That's an interspecies thing if he has relations with a human woman.
The other way to look at it is that he was trying to say interracial,
That would have been
and that would have actually been worse. So I'm trying to give him more of the benefit of the doubt that he was trying to make a character piece of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think calling them different species might actually be worse. But yeah, it's let's just not go there. Let's just hopefully he just went down an alleyway and he got a bit stuck and he just said something to get out of it.
And he just said that because he accidentally got Natalia's name wrong. And well, not accidentally. He got Natalia's name wrong and then was corrected on that, and he did not like being corrected. Anyway, in at number 24 is Kane. And it was at this point I was like, why was Kane... Yeah, if it was likely we won't see each other. I was like, you're 3 numbers apart.
Yeah.
And number 25... this depressed me. Zack Ryder coming out to no big reaction.
Oh, he got the big pop for the woo woo woo. Everyone did the woo woo woo.
But just remember how over he was at the start of this series that we did. Kane eliminates the Great Khali, then Bryan eliminates Kane, and Bryan goes over as well, but Kane catches him, and then it basically leads the crowd to chant yes or no as to whether or not Kane should put him back in the ring or drop him on the floor, and he opts to drop him, and it's great.
Yeah, it's a really good spot. Liked it a lot.
In at number 26, it's Randy Orton, RKO to Ryder. He's out. Thanks for getting over, Zach. In at number 27 is lucky number 27, Jinder Mahal.
It's a 3-man band. Drew and Slater have already both come in and gone out.
Cole had made the point that 3MB have actually got a 30% chance of winning this Rumble because there's 3 of them. But they're never in the ring together at the same time. So unfortunately, the odds did not work in their favor. Jinder Mahal, future WWE champion, is not that guy here. Cena eliminates Cesaro and gets booed for his actions.
Yeah, because we like Cesaro, we don't like John.
Yeah, and then I know what'll save this. Number 28 is Babyface Miz.
Oh yeah, you're like, you're near the end of the Rumble now. Here's all the big stars coming out. Oh, Babyface Miz. Sin Cara.
And
Ryback.
And he's selling the ankle as well. The adversity for Babyface Miz. Sheamus eliminates Jinder, so much for lucky number 27. And then Miz and Cena work together. This was your WrestleMania main event from 2 years ago, and it's not brought up on commentary.
Yeah, they're trying to retcon it out. It's only ever been The Rock and Cena.
In at number 29, it's a big return. It's Sin Cara.
So he's been out with a knee injury for, 4 months maybe. I was watching out for botches. I was hoping I could show a botch, didn't see any.
He's not in for long enough, unfortunately, because in this period of time, Bo Dallas eliminates Wade Barrett, and then Wade drags out Bo Dallas and then hits it with a bull hammer. So you might think, we said, hey, there's no stories in this. Maybe this will be a story here. So what happens following this is on the following night, Bo Dallas beats Wade Barrett in 2 minutes.
Wow.
And then on SmackDown, Orton beats Wade Barrett. So Wade, in an act of anger, attacks Bo Dallas backstage. Then they do the house show loop for the IC title, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, Bo Dallas just goes back to NXT.
Well, it certainly lent credibility to the IC title, though.
Yeah. Wade Barrett, after attacking Bo Dallas, put out a tweet that says, well, despite a disappointing result in a bout on SmackDown, it feels great to restore the natural order since I returned to the back. I hope Bo Dallas has learned a valuable lesson from all of this. Now it's time to return to where you came from, dumb kid. And while I'm on the subject, if any of your NXT buddies are thinking of having a pop, they'll get the same treatment. Now bugger off. And that's it. And Bo Dallas was not brought back. Do you want to hear what I think happened? Because I went through the observers and they don't... Dave at one point says well, I guess they're building to Bo versus Wade for the IC title for Chamber, but then obviously nothing ever happened. And they don't ever really talk about it. Here's my guess, is that Vince said to Triple H, get me someone from NXT. And I'm going to put him in a program. He's going to eliminate Wade Barrett, and then we'll do an IC title thing for Elimination Chamber. And Triple H's like, I'll bring you Bo Dallas. He's one of my top guys. He's going to be, I think, he's not the NXT champion at the moment, but he's going to be an NXT champion for me very soon. And Vince's like, great, bring him up. Vince takes one look at him and is like, all right, let's give him a chance.
Your Mike's kid.
Yeah, it's like, let's give him a chance. And then it was like, too scrawny, send him back. I've got no interest in this.
And to be fair, there wasn't anything to Bo Dallas at this point. No. It's not for maybe a year where he gets, or maybe later this year, that he gets the delusional babyface gimmick in NXT as NXT champion, and he's brilliant from that point onwards. But before then, he is a terrible white meat babyface.
Yeah, he is generic, and he's just wearing these plain white trunks. Yeah, it's not a good time for Bo Dallas. And it's really funny to think about that then, because that means that he gets the inspirational, the Bo Leave stuff, and then is not over until last year when he starts doing Uncle Howdy.
Oh, B Team was pretty actually genuinely over with Curtis Axel.
That was because of us. Not us and me and you, but they did it on a UK show. And one of the things that we like to celebrate is really obviously rubbish things.
I thought they were good. I thought he was over.
The Miztourage.
Yeah.
And then, at number 30, it's Ryback.
Use his real name.
It's big. Yeah. He's hungry like the big. It's Ryback. He eliminates Damien Sandow, and he swats Sin Cara out of the air and tosses him over the rope as well, and eliminates The Miz.
It's great. It's like, this is how cool Ryback can be.
This, I think, is the worst portion of the match, though, because this now follows a very similar template, which is Jericho runs wild. And I've written here, so he's not long for this world, and he's eliminated by Sheamus. Randy then runs wild and RKOs everyone, and Ryback eliminates him. Sheamus then runs wild and bro kicks everyone, and then he is eliminated.
But the final,
he bro kicks Dolph out of the match, so it comes down to Sheamus, Cena, and Ryback.
I mean, you see this in every multi-man WWE match, whether it be the Chamber, whether it be Survivor Series, where like, well, this guy's going to get eliminated or pinned, so we'll give them all their finishers, and then they get hit with a finisher. It's so transparent. They do it to this day as well.
And doing it back to back in the Jericho and Randy in particular. This is a pretty bad time for Randy because he's just bland babyface Orton, and he is doing nothing at WrestleMania this year. So our final three, it's Sheamus, Cena, and Ryback. Gee, I wonder why a lot of guys were not into the product at this point.
Cena is doing he's doing the dumb face where he's looking at the crowd, and it's so goofy.
JBL goes into oversell about this. He sees this final three and he says, "You'll be telling your grandkids about this." I'm like, mate, no one's talking about it now in 2013.
You know what? Cena was always a heel. He got off with Eve Torres, with Zack Ryder's girlfriend, right in front of him, like recently, I think, compared
Very
to
recently.
This. And here he is, and he's like, "Hey, Sheamus, let's gang up on this Ryback guy." That's not like hustle, loyalty, respect. He should be like, let's all equally try and attack each other.
Anyway, Sheamus runs wild. I get the feeling he's going to be out soon. Yep, he gets dumped out the ring, and then the crowd start chanting, "Feed me more." But unfortunately, it's feed no more because John Cena's winning this one. He counters a clothesline into the STF, shoots the half to lift him up, and then he sort of like picks up the lifeless body of Ryback. Ryback fires back for a little bit, but then Cena pushes him over the top rope and he wins, and the crowd boos.
They tried to cover those boos with excessive pyro.
Cole says that John Cena has made history as the fourth man to win 2 Royal Rumbles. Not really history.
Yeah.
If you're the fourth guy to do something.
Oh, this man's made history. He's the 16th person on the moon.
He's the 26th winner of a Royal Rumble.
And then he just does this like lame salute to the camera, and he finds people in the crowd in Rock t-shirts or anti-Cena t-shirts, and he poses with them. I'm like, you prick.
He loves doing that.
Oh, and like he stands with this one guy in a "We Hate Cena" t-shirt who is going out of his way to look really unhappy, and Cena's like, oh,
There was a comment on the Wrestle Talk News, I think it was yesterday, that really made me laugh. It was either yesterday or on Monday. And it was someone who said, "Do you know what? With hindsight, I'm glad that Wrestle Talk didn't do live reaction to Elimination Chamber, because they don't deserve to profit from John Cena, because they've been really mean about John Cena over the years.
It's fair. It's fair. We're right. We do not deserve.
Dave Meltzer would say of the match was better than last year because the company has added depth. Could you imagine watching this Royal Rumble and be like, well, they've added depth to the roster. They've got David Otunga now.
It wasn't the previous year. That was the Del Rio win.
No, that's... Oh, yes, it was. And
so that's the 40-man Rumble.
yeah.
So imagine a roster with less depth and having 10 more
guys,
spots.
yeah. And the year before, that's the Announcers Rumble.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough people on the roster. Last year and in other years, the Rumble would expose the lack of depth with so many guys who aren't over being involved. Here, there were still a limited number of people seen as main eventers. You didn't have the reaction when people came out of fans not caring like in the past. I don't know what point Dave's trying to make here, because he's like, hey, it's got more depth, but none of them are over. There's only 2 main eventers in this whole thing. 3 if you include Sheamus, I guess, and 4 if you include Ryback. 3.5 stars he would give the Rumble.
Yeah, it's totally mid-Rumble. I really like the first 2, though. That's one of my all-time favourite openings.
Vinny V would say, this was not the best Royal Rumble I ever saw, but it was very, very, very good. 4.5 stars.
Oh. What?
4.5 stars.
Good for him.
Yeah, I guess he had a great time with it. But again, they used to watch, and they would always talk about this when they write up their reviews and they would do their podcast as well. They would watch it as a group of friends, and they would make a whole day of it as well. So they'd go out and get like buffet food, super Chinese buffet, and they would have a fun day out and then all come back and they would have another big buffet spread on at the house and they would all have a party while watching the Royal Rumble.
That sounds great.
And you can hear that in the reviews because Vinny every now and again will just be like, Craig went out to get food. Craig came back with more food. More food arrived, so now I'm really happy. And so maybe that's why he was just, if everyone there is having a fun time with the Rumble, then you, when you're writing up your review, is going to have a much more positive thought on it.
When really he just had a great taco. he had a 7-star taco and he watched a 3-star Rumble and it came out at 4.5.
Which brings us to our main event for the WWE Championship. It's CM Punk versus The Rock with an awesome video package. I'm gutted because in the old days of us doing this, we used to put the video packages into these videos, and since we've moved from the network to Netflix, it's harder for us to insert those videos. But I want to insert this one because it's so good.
Yeah, it's all about how Rock disrespected Punk by making Raw 1000 all about him. And actually, Punk, he's a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. This isn't a popularity contest. Doesn't matter if you're the people's champion. I'm the best in the world. And this is where you get clips of Punk's long title reign. And I love it. Punk does it. Kevin Owens does it. It's like these trolling T-shirt designs they do to riff on who they're feuding with. So the Rock's T-shirt was #Boots2Asses. And on the back it read 36. It was like 7...
Yeah, it's
52, 365.
We're doing it 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 it's boots to asses all night long, worldwide, every day. #inspiration, #eat the pancakes, #get up at 2:30. All of this sort of stuff.
Ironic because he is a part-timer. And Punk's T-shirt was knees to faces, because GTS, 258366, which is one more than each of those numbers.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
And he's a big Beatles fan, 8 days a week.
And then we get a little clip of the Shield taking out the Rock at one point, and Vince is like,
yeah. So they've added the extra stipulation here, weirdly for they usually put this sort of thing on a babyface champion, being like, if you cheat, then. But Vince is a babyface at this point. It's on the heel. If the Shield get involved in this match, then CM Punk will be stripped of the title and it will be handed to The Rock. I don't think it needs this extra layer to it. And it's there for the finish.
But I don't like the finish.
I don't like the finish either.
I don't know why they... I think you could have just beat Punk.
Yeah.
I was all prepared for Rock to beat Punk, and it to be a good match, and that's it.
Yeah.
But they overbooked it with a blackout sequence, the Shield obviously interfering, and then Vince comes out anyway and is like, well, we know it was them, so this.
My guess is it's because The Rock wanted to restart the match. So he can have that moment where he restarts. I actually think that we should, I don't care about the Shield.
I'm glad they did it then for that moment. Yeah. It also has the famous line, when The Rock steps in the ring, your arms are just too short to box with God.
Because The Rock's not there all the time, really Punk has to carry some of this just on his own. Oh, it's so great.
I went back and watched the promo, which is the 7th of January episode of Raw from 2013. And it's brilliant. He talks about how the pipe bomb is a work shoot promo on the company. It's cathartic, it's brilliant, but does it further a story? Yeah, there's John Cena feud span out of it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the main aim, This is actually, like, if you to judge it on building a match terms, this is the better promo.
Yeah.
And he starts off talking about how the fans are idiots because Daniel Bryan, a serious submission specialist, has to do catchphrases to stay on top. Brodus Clay dances. So he's going to stop this. He's the most successful of all time, not just of the modern era, because if I competed in Bruno Sammartino's era, when he's just doing one match a month at Madison Square Garden, 1 year of Bruno's is 30 years of mine.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, and that's always stuck with me. And he's not successful because of the fans. He's successful in spite of the fans. He's beaten the fans, and he's going to do the same thing to The Rock. Everyone, you are losers. You do not get to win. And it makes me think of Mick Foley's ECW promo.
Kane Dewey.
It's your fault, fans. You're demanding these hardcore stipulations. They're killing us.
Yeah.
And it's Punk here, saying, you still watch this show. You are rewarding Vince. Mm-hmm. You're rewarding Rock, who's not here all the time. Why? You say you chant for me, but actually you're the worst thing about this company.
It's completely right.
And it's the perfect way to turn Punk heel. You either turn him super corporate because he's anti-authority, or you turn him super anti-authority, I guess. Yeah. And go against the fans in that way.
And it works because it's The Rock. If he was doing this same promo, but it's about Cena, it doesn't work because the crowd are booing Cena. It works because the crowd love that The Rock has come back to pro wrestling. And I was thinking about this this morning because, we're recording this 2 days removed from Punk doing that promo on Raw against The Rock and John Cena, where he was doing a lot of this 2011, 2012, 2013 Punk stuff, where he's calling, bald Dwayne, you midlife guy, doing your BS, you're selling a bunch of he is doing a lot of those same sort of promo styles. But it works here because the pipe bomb makes the company the heel. WWE is the heel in all of this. In this period of time, Punk is the heel. And because he's doing so much against the fans, and it works because the fans love The Rock, he is getting all the heel heat because of this. And it works now because it's not against WWE as the heel. It's against just The Rock and John Cena, who are supposed to be the top heel guys. So it works so beautifully well.
So The Rock comes out. I kind of forget that The Rock is in this segment. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I just thought, in my mind, it was Punk delivering the boxing with God line to camera, not to The Rock in the ring. And The Rock comes out, he says, you say you reject the people. You didn't. The people rejected you. Punk promised change. Where's that ice cream? You never delivered on it. And it's like, that's
not his fault, though.
It's not his fault, but for the purpose of the feud, the purpose of Rock is the people. He's the people's champion. You're against the people. I think it works really well. Unfortunately, then Rock gets a cookie push chant going.
Yeah, this is the thing I remember most from this segment is that Rock, because Fruity Pebbles worked so well in the early days of the Cena feud, every time he came back, he's like, I need to have something to get the crowd's chance. So he's like, so we're going to get the crowd. And he'll actually he says to the crowd, we're going to start a new chant tonight, and it's going to go Cookie Puss, Cookie Puss.
Yeah.
It doesn't track to this match, though, because no one does it in the match.
Well, someone is wearing a Cookie Puss. They've got a Cookie Puss sign in the crowd, one of those long ones in individual letters. So unfortunately, it did connect. But yeah, the Rock keeps going, and Punk says, look, every time you come back, I'm going to kick your ass. And come Royal Rumble, understand, when you step in the ring, your arms are just too short to box with God.
I love that line. The Punk, I was talking about the UFC stuff earlier. All of Punk's presentation now that he's with Heyman is very UFC influenced. He doesn't wear the title belt. Heyman walks behind him, carrying it above his head.
He's just got that black hoodie with the white detailing.
Yeah, that's it. It's like
very plain.
Very, very plain. I really, really love this era of Punk, which is like, I was, kind of sad to see it come to an end, and then almost just have that weighted realization of, oh, he's going to have nothing now for the rest of the year. And backstage, Josh Matthews interviews The Rock, and The Rock, I'm amazed he had any wind in him for the match itself, because he gets gassed doing this promo because he just starts at 11 and ends at 11, just shouting about just the guy. He goes to work and he hates his boss, and he never gets and someone gets promoted above him, and he hates his boss, and it's like God forbid your family, they're stricken with cancer. Imagine being stricken with like my mum. My mum's out there right now, stricken with cancer, but she overcame like that guy who goes to work. We're all the same. $7 in my pocket. The NFL didn't want me. Draft day didn't happen. $7. And tonight, we're going to end 343 days of misery. And we're going to win the title and become one.
I think he's trying to do Dusty's Hard Times promo.
Yeah, and I think he does it unsuccessfully.
Yes, he even does. And it's, you sort of forget the famous lines, Hard Times, but Dusty is doing a whole TV preacher. What do you call it? T-Van? Televangelist?
Telesavalis?
Terry Savalas promo. And he even puts his hand up to the camera. He's
reach out to me,
touch my hand, like we're all in this together. We are the people.
Yeah.
And he's doing that sort of hypnotic thing. I'm surprised people in the crowd didn't burst out speaking in tongues and having fits on the floor.
It's lucky that he's so over.
Well, it's a great delivered promo, and the content's good. He's like saying, "I was down and out. I had $7 in my pocket. My mum was diagnosed with cancer. She's shown in the crowd." These are all genuine hard things he went through.
Yeah, they
are hard times.
Is pure inspirational Rock, which he was so into at this period of time, about how you look what you read through his movie resume at this point. It is getting up every day, going to work, doing it, and doing the grind and the grind and the grind, and you get rewarded for it, like getting Black Adam.
Team Bring It.
Yeah.
There's another team for you. You ask Team Bring It from all around the world to put your hand on the screen.
Punk comes out first, because of course he does.
I remember that annoying me at the time.
I hated it. In fairness, though, that was a WWE trait at this point, was for the champion to come out first. I don't know why, but it always irked me.
Oh, was it? Was it just the heel comes out first? Because that again is standard. That's wrestling psychology. But you let the champion come out second.
Yeah, champion comes out last. Absolutely. I've written in my notes here, this is the last time we see the spinner belt, but I'm wrong. We do actually see it for Elimination Chamber. Punk says that there's I think they said this on commentary. This is his life's work. Does he do a promo, or is it just
no?
This is on commentary. This is his life's work. This is the 6th longest title reign of all time.
This feels like a more serious, credible, big-time boxing fight to me in its presentation and the crowd reaction than WrestleMania 28 with The Rock and John Cena.
Absolutely. That was the mainstream match. This is like the wrestling, boxing, UFC promoted main events. And they make a really big deal that The Rock has not won a title in 10 years. And how there's a thing about ring rust, you're not getting the ring, you're not being in this title situation. CM Punk is doing this every single day. He is going to have the edge in all of this. And there are boos for Punk, because this crowd are very pro-Rock, but there is a loud male contingent of this audience that are chanting for CM Punk, because what they are dreading is having to pay to go to WrestleMania to watch John Cena versus The Rock for the title. But this match starts, and it is miles and away better than anything The Rock did with Cena.
Oh god, it's so, that WrestleMania 28 main event. They're so slow, and then the John Cena has to work over someone. Which again, we're in 2025 March. We've not seen heel John Cena have to work anyone over yet.
Yeah,
I'm terrified. I think the whole act might fall apart based on the fact that he can't do that
once the bell rings.
But yeah, it feels really real and gritty. Punk, they just go at each other with real stiff strikes and stuff. They go outside early, but of smoke and mirrors in the crowd to cover up The Rock.
It reminds me a lot of when we watched Survivor Series 2011, and we were like, "Whoa! Did you see how like explosive The Rock was when he got in the ring and everything?" And then Cena gets in the ring and tries to do the same thing, but it's 20 times slower.
Here's the thing you learn on day one of wrestling school,
and I've done it badly.
Yeah, and I'm not even good at it.
But I kept feeling like, man, The Rock just feels like he's in. For someone who hasn't been doing this for as long as Cena has, hasn't done it for years. He looks much better at it. He's conditioning better at it.
Wow.
That Rock is back here again. This feels like The Rock we saw at Survivor Series.
That's McGillicuddy for you.
It's the genesis of McGillicuddy.
There's this great spot when they're outside. Rock takes off the Spanish announce table top, when you prepare it for someone to go through. But Punk beats him up and throws Rock back inside. And Punk puts the lid back on the table and bows to the Spanish announce tables.
So great.
And claps. And everyone's like, yeah!
Because he knows what the online meme is. And he knows what the forums have been doing, and the online jokes that everyone's had for the past 15 years since the real rise of the IWC, which is the Spanish announce table always breaks. Every wrestling fan knows that it's it was poorly put together, this one. Everyone knows the Spanish announce table is the one that they break. So Punk's just leaning into that to kind of get the smart fans on his side.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, because CM Punk chants then massively overtake the Rock ones.
They really, absolutely. We then, after a while, start getting those chants for Rocky again as Punk works him over. And they actually talk about Rock's last title match was in 2002 his last title match at the Royal Rumble was in 2002 against Chris Jericho for the Undisputed Championship.
Weirdly, Paul Heyman then starts to get physically involved.
Well, what's CM Punk going to do? Beat up The Rock?
But it's just like...
What planet are you on?
But Heyman, I think, can put a foot on the ropes. He can distract the referee. The image of Heyman doing a flying forearm on The Rock, and it just looks like it bounces off The Rock. I don't even think that's worth the interference.
I don't know. The Rock is selling that midsection. But then Punk does
He hits a double axe handle. Heyman hits a double axe handle on The Rock.
Well, he's got to get the heat, brother. Is it The Rock's there backstage being like, I just don't think the fans are really going to buy into CM Punk beating me up for too long. So I think, Paul, you need to do some moves.
You know what? I don't think that's The Rock. I think The Rock has always been very generous in the ring. I think that's Vince. I think that's Vince saying this and the Shield and everything. I think if it's up to The Rock, genuinely, I think he wants to put over Punk as strongly as possible.
Maybe. I think previous Rock, I would have said so. 2000 Rock, 2001 Rock, absolutely. I think 2013 Rock, I'm not so sure. I think he's a bit more protective of his ego around this period of time.
I did a deep dive into his career last year, and I think that the change comes when he falls out with Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious, which is about 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And that makes him a bit more paranoid and protective because there's not really any behavior that fits this before then.
Okay.
But then it's the DC stuff. Then it's getting weirdly sort of insecure about box office numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's at this point he's still...
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But CM Punk does a springboard dropkick and in the process seems to tweak his knee.
Really well done.
Yeah.
Obviously planned because Cole goes, can we play that again?
Yeah.
On the camera, which is, is useful because then we can see it.
But I like this sports presentation that they're giving this because I was about to say sports entertainment then, but it's not. This is more of a sports presentation because that's when JBL starts talking about ring conditioning. And Michael Cole says, well, I'm not a wrestler. Can you explain what that means to me then? And JBL gives a very serious answer about what it means to be in ring condition. And I love it. And I love that idea of just I think he had caught himself in an injury there. Can we get a replay of that so we can see and do, Michael Cole, some analysis Unfortunately, you got Kingston there as well. He's kind of doesn't really know what to do with this era.
Well, it's much better than just talking about veganism
I
or
guess.
interspecies
So
relationships.
Rock then starts going for the knee, but Punk again gets that midsection and hits a dive. Punk misses another springboard, and that allows the Rock again to start targeting the knee. Punk reverses the rock bottom into the GTS, but Rock reverses that into the sharpshooter, and Punk gets out of that into the Anaconda Vice.
Really good sequence.
Great. And then he goes for a crucifix, but Rock reverses that into that sharpshooter, and that sharpshooter is on the tweaked knee. Even though the Rock does the sharpshooter wrong, you can sell the knee.
And they go outside, and Rock prepares the Spanish announce table again, the asshole. And they fight on top of it. Punk goes for the GTS, but Rock gets the rock bottom, and it's like they make a downward movement before they come up to do the move.
Yeah, because they were doing that.
And the table disintegrates beneath them.
It feels like this table was held together by one dowel, and someone just yanked the dowel, and the whole thing came down.
Yeah.
But what was Punk's plan? To do a GTS on the table?
Oh yeah, well the added height. You
I
see.
see.
It's I think they call it potential energy. It's up higher, so it would go down on his knee hard.
It's altitude sickness he gets. I see. And the table collapses, so Rock just drags Punk up and hits a rock bottom on the floor instead. It's a good recovery.
Yeah, you got to. It's no one's fault. It just happened.
Rock rolls him back into the ring, and Punk kicks out, and then he does a roundhouse kick for the double down.
I love Punk's roundhouse kicks when he connects them.
And then,
oh God, don't take me back to this. Actually, in hindsight, it is really lame.
And then you want some sign of the times right here. What were people into in 2013, 2:34:02? What they were into.
This is not good. This is not good for anybody right now. Somebody's got to make it back to his feet before 10 here. But even if Rock does, if Punk's counted down, I mean, this is
I got my timings wrong here. Where's my timing? 24.
24.
There it is.
You're on 34. Oh.
That's what the crowd are into at the moment. That's what the audience are into. Grumpy Cat hates jobbers.
Oh, I was listening to commentary. I didn't know there was a sign there.
People like their memes.
Yep,
People like their viral sensations. Grumpy Cat, former guest host of Monday Night Raw. That was worth it. We have a great brawl. The Rock hits the spinebuster, and he's about to hit the people's elbow when all of a sudden the lights go out.
And it's darkness, but Michael Cole is screaming that the Rock has been triple powerbombed through the table by the Shield.
Yeah. And he's yelling, it's the Shield.
It's the Shield, it's the Shield. How did the referee not see it?
Well, the lights were out.
How did Cole see it?
Because he was right next to them.
I guess.
Like, he was standing, literally, they put him through his table. He was standing right next to them, and he was like, I can smell Ambrose from here.
Yeah. Okay, so the lights come back up. The quite loud clatter of a table breaking.
Yeah.
And the Rock is in the debris of a collapsed table, and Punk's in the ring. There's that one faction that's been explicitly banned from this match, and their signature move is putting people through that table.
Yeah.
So first off, how did the referee not see it?
The lights are out.
How did the referee not use common sense to determine what's happened?
Because he's an idiot.
Secondly, how did Punk and Heyman ever think this was going to work?
That one I can't answer.
And that's what annoys me here.
I don't think this finish works at all. And the thing that I like about this finish, though, is CM Punk's selling of it.
Yeah.
Because the lights come back up and Rock is laid out. And actually, 2013 Cole is not good Michael Cole. But credit to Michael Cole in this. He is yelling, it was the damn Shield, it was the Shield. He's like, Kyoda, it was the Shield. DQ him, strip him of the title, it was the Shield. And Kyoda's like, well, I don't know. And then CM Punk goes out to grab the Rock. And Cole's like, Punk, it was the Shield. And Punk goes, I've never heard of the Shield.
He gets Rock in the ring and he pins him 1, 2, 3. And I'm not kidding. I celebrated so much because I thought that was the finish.
Yeah.
I was drunk and I was like, oh my God, he must be dropping at the chamber.
Yeah.
But right now he has a victory over The Rock. I don't care if that's a really, really bad finish.
I love it.
The belt's on Punk.
I've written in my notes here, end the show here.
End the show.
Because everyone went into this show expecting Rock to win. And if you're doing the rematch at Chamber anyway, just do the title switch there.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have actually hurt anything. If anything, it would have given Punk something.
Yeah.
And The Rock can win the title Elimination Chamber because he got screwed at the Rumble. And you can still then do Rock and Cena. But of course, the argument is Rock's going to be doing all the press in February. So he should be having the belt with him then to talk about being the WWE champion because everyone wants to watch the press interviews for G.I. Joe Retaliation.
God damn you, Snitch. If it wasn't for Snitch.
If it wasn't for Will Smith. It was his film, right? So, I will say, once they restarted the match, this crowd are stopped with the CM Punk stuff. They just want to see The Rock win. So it does work in that regard. The crowd go mental for this finish. So
They're wrong.
I think they're wrong as well, but you can't argue that it didn't work.
No.
However, so Vince comes out and Vince cuts his promo where he's like, look, we know that was the Shield.
Yeah. Not even going to pretend.
Yeah,
that
like,
you're smart there, Heyman or Punk.
Yeah, it's. I know Kyoto's an idiot, but like they hit a triple powerbomb. I know it's dark, but I know it's the Shield. So I am going to strip you of the title. But unfortunately, The Rock feels like he has to get in his 2 cents. And The Rock has just taken a triple powerbomb through the table.
Well, did he?
And wrestled a match. And so he is all gassed and he gets his lines wrong.
No.
How sweaty he is.
We ain't ending this night like that. You don't take it from him. I am.
You don't take it from him. I am.
You're not going to take it from him. I am. You don't take it from him. Oh, that's a perfect, badass line at the end of one of Rock's action movies.
So, he's bringing that Hollywood
I am.
sensibility. I am. But his setup line was all wrong.
Yeah.
So he asked for the match to be restarted. Vince agrees. Crowd now fully behind The Rock. We get an elbow drop from CM Punk because he starts battering on him, but Rock kicks out, and there are thunderous Rocky chants. And he gets out of the GTS, hits the spinebuster, hits the people's elbow, and The Rock pins Punk to win the WWE Championship.
Well, he's back to the hard cam. He kept on doing the people's elbow with his back to the hard cam in this time. And I always thought the point of it was for me to see his face swearing.
Yeah. And see his
That's
arms
how I
move.
remember it back in the day. Weirdly, even though that Shield finish is absolutely awful, I remember at the time being like, Rock won with the people's elbow. That's his signature move. That's not his finisher. And I was really annoyed by it. But then Rock and Punk have talked about it since. And they've said the reason the people's elbow was used as the finish is poetically, it's a match and feud about Punk turning his back on the people and the Rock embracing the people.
Yeah.
Therefore, the people beat Punk with Rock. And that is definitely the story.
Yeah.
But and I can see that now and I think that works. But at the time I was like, you beat Punk with the people's elbow? A laughable finisher?
He won titles with the people's elbow. It was his finisher on the SmackDown games.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, the rock bottom in No Mercy is his finisher.
I'm talking about the SmackDown games.
Yeah,
thank you
well,
very much.
well,
on
I
the
don't care about
PlayStation
your-
1.
No, I don't care about. I was an
the
N64
people's elbow.
guy.
Yeah, but the people's elbow was the finish. That's because the N64 couldn't handle.
Whitney, what's the Rock's finisher? Yeah.
in 1998? But
Which is what's the point?
because he got massively over in 2000 when he becomes the People's Champion. Sorry, DDP, and he starts doing the People's Elbow. People's Elbow's his finish.
I disagree. I think the rock bottom's his finish.
The rock bottom is actually his signature move. That's your down circle finisher move.
No.
It comes up in yellow text because that's a signature. You know, it's like Kane, as the tombstone is his signature move. The choke slam is his finisher. That's what SmackDown 1 taught me.
Can we have people comment if you make it this far? Can we have people comment what the Rock's finisher is? I will not accept both.
And
you have to pick.
I am going to ask that people don't put any context around it. Just do one word. So you just do People's Elbow or rock bottom.
No, or bottom.
Yes.
Elbow or bottom.
Yeah, just type in elbow or bottom and with no other context, because it will confuse anyone else who's scrolling through the comments who hasn't made it this far.
I'm, of course, Team Bottom.
And I'm
Team Elbow. Team Elbow.
I'm hashtag Team Elbow. I'm going to have on the next show that we do a t-shirt that says hashtag Team Elbow.
Yeah, and I'm votes to bottoms. Hashtag votes to bottoms. 258-366.
Elbow a band and Bottom is a TV show.
Yeah.
And I do like Elbow.
Yeah, I like Bottom.
It's a great show. Anyway, Dave Meltzer would say Rock was a lot bigger than at Mania. He moved like he was too bulky as compared with the surprising speed he had before. There were dueling chants, but the crowd was heavily pro-Rock. 4 stars.
You know what? I think he's even bigger now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely
It's
he is.
crazy that the training he must do, considering how older he is.
He does the Mighty Mouse thing where you put you go and you blow yourself up a little bit.
That must be it.
Vinny V would say, Punk signaled for the GTS, but Punk slipped behind and hit the Spinebuster. And you mean Rock there. Punk signaled for the GTS, but Rock slipped behind and hit the Spinebuster and People's Elbow, and that was the finish. That's how the longest WWE title reign in 20 years came to an end. The People's Elbow. That made Mama Rock happy. Well, it was a much better finish than Punk's pin. If I'm trying to decide, he's talking about, Punk pinning Rock.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if this was better than the Rumble. The finish clearly was, but the first half wasn't. So I'm saying no, but there's plenty of room to argue. Hell of a pay-per-view either way, 4.25 stars.
Sounds to me like Vinny's a bottom man.
Hashtag Team Elbow. Elbows to chest. All night long.
Elbows to chest.
Elbows
How
to
do you
chest.
do that? I think that's one of those impossible things.
It's because
you should have tongues to elbows.
He drops the elbow down on people's chests. Elbows to chest all night long.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's boots to asses anyway? Doesn't kick people in the bum, does he?
I think it's metaphorical.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was Royal Rumble 2013. What did you make of the show?
I actually really like the show.
Yeah, me too.
I said in the break to Tempest in the office that, I'm really enjoying Rumble 13. And he went, oh, it's a good show for the time. And I thought, yeah, I'm relatively enjoying Rumble 13 because all the other shows we've done are actually really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the case. We were actually talking about this, me and Tempest, the other day about this Rumble 2013, because he used to say that he thought it was one of the better Rumbles. But now with the benefit of hindsight going back, it is not a good Royal Rumble because nothing happens in it.
Yeah.
And it's only got one winner, and that makes it quite a boring Rumble, really. And so I've got a very similar feeling on it. But I do think this is the best show we've done so far, and has made me excited to see Elimination Chamber, because I remember this Rock Punk match a lot. I don't remember Punk Rock 2 from Elimination Chamber.
Neither do I.
There's a part of me, I'm not even sure if I've ever seen it. Because I don't know if I've ever watched Chamber 2013.
Why wouldn't you have?
Because there was no network. And I don't think we ordered the pay-per-view.
There were other means. I don't think I paid for a show. I was there, I was at the pub for this, but I think the chamber would have been a torrent show.
It's not a Pirate Bay one. I don't know if I've ever seen the show. I know of it because I've listened to various podcasts review it and stuff. And
how exciting!
And I listened to Meltzer and Alvarez and the Brian and Vinny review of it from the time. But I'm not sure if I've ever seen it. There might be something when I watch it, I'll be like, no, I do remember. I have seen this show.
Well, you can find out, folks, by going to patreon.com/WrestleTalk right now, because that Elimination Chamber show and our review is right there.
It's right there and live right now. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. If you go there, not only are you going to get the Elimination Chamber review, there's also our reviews of Raw 1000 and Survivor Series 2011. There's also our entire Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe series from TNA and our entire 7-part breakup of the Shield series as well.
Which starts off with the following year's Royal Rumble to this, Royal Rumble 2014.
We cover a lot in all of those, so go and check that out at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. But thank you so much for watching this video right here. If you haven't, go back and watch the other reviews that we've done that are available publicly, which includes WrestleMania 27 and WrestleMania 28. Here is a clip of it.